All right, friends, welcome to Raymond Field here in beautiful Wolfville. We're on the campus of Acadia University. It is the 2012 AUS Subway Loney Bowl. The St. Mary's Huskies versus the Acadia Axemen. My name is Bill McLean. I'm joined by former CFLer and Acadia Axemen Elliot Richardson. And Elliot, let's talk about this St. Mary's Huskies team first. What do the Huskies have to do today to have a chance against Acadia?
I think they're going to have to play strong St. Mary's football, and what I mean by that is, I know it's a phrase often used, but they're going to have to win the battle of the trenches. Their offensive line is going to have a great game to establish a solid run game. The quarterback they have in place with Legault, he's very efficient inside between the numbers and inside between the hashes, but they don't want to get the game to get too carried away that they have to make some throws down the field and to the outside. So if they can establish that running game, it's really going to control the clock and allow combine with their defense, keep them in the game to allow that running game to keep on produce. The other factor is, since we're playing here at Acadia with the swirling winds, it does look like a very nice day out, but what you can't see is how strong the wind is out there. Last time St. Mary's was here, they did a tremendous job at owning the clock up and down the field, keeping St. Mary's offense off the field, and they did a tremendous job at keeping Kyle Graves off the field. If they can do that again, they'll be able to take advantage of the wind behind them and allow Legault to open it up a little bit more.
One of the things that people have been talking about is that this is a year where Acadia and St. Mary's have played each other 3 times already. How hard is it to beat a team 4 times in 2 months, and does this kind of play into the hands of the Huskies a bit?
It has, and I think part of it has to do with the fact that the way St. Mary's has come into this game. You've seen two different directions of these two teams. Acadia clinched first place and the bye but almost a month ago, and really haven't played a meaningful game in about 4 or 5 weeks, whereas St. Mary's has had to fight not only to get into this game, but fight to get into the playoffs in general. Climbed up the ladder from last all the way to second place, earned their way to host a playoff game. So they've been fighting the whole way along and have really established their running game between Abanqua and Dawes, and I think you're going to see that trend continue. They're going to go as far as those two can carry them.
Elliot Richardson coming right back to talk about the Acadia Axemen, but let's send it down to Steve Betts with Amita Vora.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am with Amita Vora. Amita, of course, an editor with Canada Chat Football. Amita, a very cold day here. It's going to have an effect on both teams, obviously. Elliot's saying the wind is going to be intense. What does Acadia have to do today to win this game against a very upstart and a St. Mary's team that's found some chemistry?
Well, I think with either team, special teams and turnovers are going to be key in this game. With Acadia, they have the league MVP, Kyle Graves. He's got to play one of the best games of the year in order for them to be successful. And watch for that connection between Mike Squires and with Kyle Graves.
Kyle Graves, of course, leading in punting as well. St. Mary's on the other side, chemistry has come a long way. Jameek Taylor is out. Jubenville is out. This St. Mary's team, do they have enough momentum to come into Acadia on these windy conditions today and defeat this defending AUS champ?
I think it's very possible. The last 2 games, huge wins over St. FX to get in the playoffs, and then Mount Allison in the semifinal. They have got other receivers on the offensive game plan other than Taylor and Abanqua that they can rely on in Withrich, Sabrin, and Dawes.
Well, there you go. Amita Vora explaining that both of these teams have an excellent chance. Back to you, Bill and Elliot.
All right, thanks very much, Steve. Back here with Elliot Richardson, and now we're talking about the Acadia Axemen, the defending champs, come in here with a lot of swagger, 7-1. What does Acadia have to do here to hold court?
First thing they're going to have to do is they're going to have to step up. We talked a little bit about with the St. Mary's side of it. Acadia really hasn't played a meaningful game in a month. They've come off a bye week. They've had a few games before that were just kind of playing out the string of the season. So they're really going to have to get up. And I think they have that ability simply because they're an older, experienced team that know how to get up for big games. All of these guys that are starting today started last year for them in the previous Loney Bowl. But specifically what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to play good, solid defense, stop the rushing attack of St. Mary's. They're going to have to do very, very well on special teams. Special teams has been an issue for Acadia against St. Mary's, and if they're not sound in their lanes, going down in their coverage lanes, they are going to get exposed by Abanqua, who's a dangerous threat, replacing Jameek Taylor, who's not playing today. Additionally, when they do have the wind at their back, they're going to have to let Kyle Graves, open up the field a little bit, and they're going to have a strong running game when they're running into the wind. If you can get those 2 things, I think their offense can get on track. Despite of how well their offense has done, it still hasn't been up to the level that we expected it to be with a returning 5th-year quarterback and multiple 4th and 5th-year receivers.
Jeff Cummings, of course, putting together quite a historic career now with Acadia. Where does this rank amongst the biggest games of his coaching career?
This is a very big one. I mean, this will be his. If he wins this, he's able to get a 4th AUS championship, which will put him at the top, if not near the top of the Acadia coaching ladder, 4 championships. But for him, he's going to go through the process of coaching a solid game, not getting beyond this game in preparation for perhaps the UTEC Bowl next week.
This is the 2012 Subway AUS Loney Bowl, brought to you by Budweiser and powered by Bell Alliant. Let's head back down to Steve Betts on the sideline.
Hey guys, Bill, you and Elliot were actually both talking about the wind conditions down here, and if we can get a shot, Brian, of the flags up there, you can see there's 8:04 left. It's quite brisk down here. There's going to be an advantage for whoever gets the kickoff. There's going to be an advantage who's ever going with the wind in the first quarter. There's no doubt about that. But as you can see, those flags are blowing very hard. It's very chilly down here as well, so you're obviously going to see some players having some issues with gripping the ball, running backs in particular, and obviously the quarterbacks for both teams are going to have a real hard time holding on to this ball. So for everybody at home sitting on your couch, it's very chilly here. There's no doubt about it. I'm standing in the sunshine for a reason. There's a shadow to my right. But we're going to see some issues with the wind and with the cold, guys. Back to you and Bill and Elliot.
All right, back here at up top for the 2012 AUS Subway Loney Bowl. Remember, your emails, auswebcast@gmail.com, auswebcast@gmail.com. And hello out there to Carl Seafoot, who's already sent us an email. Make sure you send us a shout-out during the game out there, wherever you're watching the game from. So the St. Mary's Huskies, the last 2 games, they've outscored their opponents 98 to about 19. A lot of people started to think that, if they wouldn't have called this 2 months ago, but a lot of people thinking this St. Mary's team, this is going to be a very good football game here today.
Right. Talk about a team that's really come together towards the end of the season. You talked about the score. Even more impressive than the score that they've laid down on their opponents is just how they've done it. They've really imposed a physical will on those teams through their running attack. Have run the ball over 30, 40 times a game with switching up the rush between Dawes and Abanqua. And their defense has really started to come along together. Devin Murphy's an outstanding defensive coordinator, but he's kept it simple for the guys. Today you're going to see a lot of man coverage, a lot of blitzing, trying to stop the Acadia rush attack, put Kyle Graves in uncomfortable second and long positions, and then send the house again try to send pressure. And you might see a little bit of zone, but it's going to be a lot of man coverage today for St. Mary's defense.
All right, Elliot Richardson, and heading back down to Steve Betts, who is with Phil Curry of the AUS.
Of course, I'm here with Phil Curry, obviously a football fan, and you just said you and John split these days up. You're not going to miss today. This is one of the greatest days here in the AUS.
Oh, there's no question. I mean, all of our sports are important to us, but obviously the football, the Loney Bowl, the Subway Loney Bowl it's a big event for us, and one we always want to support. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. And you've been a busy man this week. We were talking earlier. You've been all over the pond because a lot of AUS finals and some CIS teams coming into town for some championships. Tell us a little bit about what you've been doing this week, Phil.
Well, last weekend I was in Cape Breton for the Women's Soccer Championship, and then I actually did presentations right through the conference. Last week started in Cape Breton, went to all of our schools, and ended up in Halifax yesterday. So it was a busy week, but I survived it. It was great.
Absolutely. And a cold day today, so you need a coffee after all that travel. Now, you have a special presentation coming up at halftime, I believe. Could you tell us a little bit about that? Tell the people at home exactly what you're doing there.
Absolutely. We have an official who's been doing AUS or university football events as an official, then as kind of leading the officials for 47 years. His name's Bill Glendenning. We're going to do a very special presentation to him in conjunction with the officials themselves. So we're excited about that, and very thankful for what Bill has done for the sport of football. Certainly in the officiating arena, and he's a true leader and inspires all of us. And for him to be moving on, I think it's time for him to take a rest after 47 years. And we do have a great gentleman coming in, and John Brenton as well after him taking over for him. So we just want to wish Bill the best and to go on and enjoy the rest of his time.
Well, Phil Curry thank you very much, Phil. Phil, of course, AUS director here. Going to enjoy a beautiful day. You can't really predict anything today, can you now, Phil? You're going to stay in the neutral zone?
Here's my prediction. May the best team win.
There you go, from Phil Curry. Back to you, Bill and Elliot.
I knew I fit in on day one. You can't really beat how beautiful Wolfville is and how beautiful the campus is.
Program's awesome. Professors are perfect, and you can really get to know them.
When you get to an environment like this and you have that kind of attention, you begin to believe in yourself.
If you come to Acadia, you can go anywhere, and the anywhere gets defined by you.
Literally just come here, it's great, life-changing, more than what I expected.
I knew I fit in on day one. You can't really beat how beautiful Wolfville is and how beautiful the campus is.
Program's awesome. Professors are perfect, and you can really get to know them.
When you get to an environment like this and you have that kind of attention, you begin to believe in yourself.
If you come to Acadia, you can go anywhere, and the anywhere gets defined by you.
Literally just come here, it's great, life-changing.
Now I can hear us. There we go.
Yep. All right, friends, welcome back to Raymond Field here on the campus of Acadia University in absolutely beautiful Wolfville, Nova Scotia, one of the premier venues in the AUS, and for the second straight year, they are hosting the Loney Bowl. This is AUSTV.ca, powered by Bell Alliant and presented by Budweiser. And remember to Gatorade is the drink of AUS athletes, and thanks very much to Eric Cederberg, the sports information director here at Acadia, for getting us set up, and of course all the volunteers with the AUS and here on the campus of Acadia University. AUSwebcast@gmail.com is your email. AUSwebcast@gmail.com. Already heard from Carl Seafoot. Would love to hear from you out there throughout the broadcast. Let us know where you're watching the game. If you have questions for the coach or for Elliot Richardson, we'll be sure to answer them for you. My name is Bill McLean, and I'm joined by Elliot Richardson, former Edmonton Eskimo, former Saskatchewan Rough Rider, and at one time prowled the sidelines here, or not the sidelines, prowled the field here as an AUS All-Star.
Yeah, I got on the field from time to time here at Acadia.
With Acadia. Days like this, does it get the juices flowing once again?
A little bit. I woke up pretty excited this morning, knowing that not only it felt like game day, but it was championship day. The Acadia team put on a pancake breakfast this morning, and you can feel the energy in the building there. Just the guys getting ready for the big game today.
Just an absolutely gorgeous day. If you like cold and wind, we got a great that email from Carl saying it looks nice here. May look nice, Carl, but it is cold, especially here in the press box field. Down there on the field, the sun is shining, so it's not too bad.
No, it won't be too bad. It'll be pretty good out there for the players. They will have to deal with the elements, the wind coming across. It will change directions throughout the course of the game. And what that will mean for the teams is teams will be either going into a heavy wind or have a strong wind at the back, and that'll dictate how teams try and control the ball. Also how offense coordinators select their plays as well, in terms of how they want to dictate to the defense what they want to do. Expect teams that are going into the wind, expect them to run the ball quite a bit, looking to eat up clock, and looking to have when they have the wind at their back, really open up their offense and try and throw the ball downfield, knowing that they won't have the ability to do so throwing into a heavy wind.
We're looking at it's going to be an interesting situation, but we have at least we have the two best punters in the conference as well, two of the best punters in the country in Kyle Graves and Brett Lother. Well, let's head it back down to Steve Betts again with a very special guest on the sideline.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Kevin Garbullo with Rouge Radio, local Acadia guy. Kevin, cold day here. You're bleeding red today. You think that's the way it's going to go?
I think it's going to be close. It's going to be a hard-fought game. I think Acadia should come out on top, but I don't know how it's going to go. These two teams traditionally play each other very tough. If you look in historic matchups between them, the year Acadia went 1-7, St. Mary's goes 7-1. Combined score in the two meetings, 5 points.
Yeah, these teams are very even in the stats if you go up and down it. So who's a key player for St. Mary's that you're worried about as an Acadia fan?
Well, first off, it was Jameek Taylor. That's the Acadia killer himself. He's out. Watch out for Melvin Abanqua, though, because he's just like Jameek Jr. He could take off. He could take over a game.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Appreciate it. Teams are coming back out, guys. Back to you, Bill and Elliot.
The Acadia Axemen, the defending AUS regular season champions, are on the field. They are looking for a return trip to the UTEC Bowl. As they announce the starters here of the Axemen, really an Axemen team that did exactly what they were supposed to do. They cruised through AUS competition, had a hard time here with St. Mary's once in a while, played Laval fairly tough during the first half in Quebec City. This is an Acadia team that's lived up to their billing.
Right, it's a team that's certainly living up to its bill in terms of its veteran ability. It's a team that's developed over the past few years through a strong coaching staff and the team it is today. Expectations were very high coming into this season. One thing they have disappointed is they expected a much more explosive offense with all-stars like Renault, Mike Squires, Andrew Healy, coming back along with Heck Creighton nominee Kyle Graves. Expected a much more up-tempo offense, much more explosive plays. The running game has carried them this year, surprisingly, with the loss of Zach Skibbon, and if they can do so today, it should be a good game for Acadia.
Is there a sense of urgency with this Acadia team? Sometimes they have to kind of turn around the program and get going again. Is there a sense of urgency with these 4th and 5th year starters that this is the year that they have to get this done?
It is, certainly. I mean, we talked a little bit about a pregame. 18 to 20 players aren't going to be back with this team next year. So deep down, they know that this is one of their last chances they have to not only win an AUS championship, but compete nationally for that Vanier Cup.
Well, there was the introduction of Kyle Graves, the 5th-year senior from Barrie, Ontario, 2012 passing yards. He was special this season.
He certainly was. He really elevated his game to another level professionally. He spent some time in the Montreal Alouettes camp this May and June with the Alouettes, learning from some of the best people in North America to play the quarterback position, and has really transferred some of those skills. Has a bit more zip on his ball. His accuracy is quite a bit better, and just some small things in terms of how he escapes the pocket and how he just plays the game a little bit smarter than he has the past few years.
Here come the Huskies, trying to get back to the top of the AUS conference that they had dominated from 2007 until about 2010. Started off the season 0-3, and those who had written the obituary of this Huskies team could just pause as they made a late second half surge. And this is the Huskies team, too, that had some tough losses. Tough losses to Acadia, a tough loss to Sherbrooke. So it's been a Huskies team that has been on the cusp all season.
But with those losses, with those close losses, we've really seen them grow as a team and develop into that next level team we've seen the second half of the year. I think the St. Mary's the second half is a much better representation of who they truly are than what we saw this first half.
Huskies, Axemen, the AUS Subway 2012 Loney Bowl. The ceremonial kickoff at O Canada, and me and Elliot Richardson coming right back for the Axemen and Huskies. All right, here we go. Acadia, St. Mary's, the Loney Bowl on AUSTV.ca, powered by Bell Alliant and presented by Budweiser. This is going to be a good time. And this, because you start thinking about this game a few weeks ago, and this is exactly what we thought we would have. The sun is shining, the beautiful canvas here. This is just 2 years in a row. This has been a perfect setting for the Loney Bowl.
Exactly, almost the exact same conditions what we saw last year. Beautiful sunny day, sun's beaming down. We'll keep the players warm. The wind will be a factor, but still gonna be a nice day for the fans. Quite a packed place. You can't see the fans underneath of us here in the press box, but the stands are full. It's going to be pretty much standing room only around the field today. It's going to be an outstanding day for AUS football here.
Very different situation for both teams at the quarterback position. Of course, Kyle Graves expected to put up big numbers and be the leader of this Acadia team. Jean Legault, they'll just want him to kind of manage the game.
But he does also bring a different dynamic. He does have the ability as a runner to make some plays, which can be very frustrating as a defense. I know from experience when you contain the quarterback in the pocket, lock down the receivers, and expect a coverage sack, and the next thing you know, that quarterback jumps out and scrambles for a first down and continues that drive. It becomes very frustrating because you think you're doing your job, and then yet they're still able to march down the field on you.
Acadia will be kicking with the wind to start this first quarter. Ryan Bejan to kick it here for Acadia, and of course Melvin Abanqua and RJ Cornish back there to receive for this Huskies team. One of the storylines coming in, no Jameek Taylor for this Huskies team.
A big loss. He has had quite a bit of success. We look back to the first game Acadia played against St. Mary's, hosting them here at Raymond Field. Not only did Jameek Taylor have a long touchdown reception, but he also closed out the second quarter with a 109-yard missed field goal, which really changed the structure of the game.
Here we go, the Subway AUS Loney Bowl, Acadia and St. Mary's. It's kickoff from beautiful Wolfville, and it is Cornish with the first touch of this annual classic. And out to about the 25-yard line, Huskies will set up 1st and 10 with Legault. Acadia in those brilliant red uniforms, and the Huskies in the white with the maroon pants. Couple All-Stars on this Huskies, AUS All-Stars on the offensive line. Matt Albright, the Community Service Award winner as well, and Guillaume Gagne on that AUS All-Star team.
Both will be playing the left side and expect more plays to not be headed over to that strong left side of St. Mary's offense.
There's Legault in the shotgun. That's a Kiki in motion, and that looks like Big Mike Dawes. It is, and a big hit, your first big hit of the game on a 7-yard gain.
Nice little zone play to the right. Dawes, who's a very good cutback runner, took that play, saw that there was a hole in the backside C gap, was able to cut back and get upfield and gain about 8 yards there.
That looked like Alex Graham coming in, and our first, right away we can use the Alex Graham rang his bell analogy, which I've been sure has been used a million times, but that was a heavy hit on Mike Dawes.
Alex Graham, a good hitter, and first year starting safety here for the Axemen.
Another handoff, and Mike Dawes again, and that's a first down for the Huskies to the 37-yard line.
Again, a nice little outside zone to the right there for St. Mary's, keeping with what we expect them to do early in this first quarter, which is 1, try to establish a run game, and 2, especially try to hold it while they're going into the wind. They're not going to have a lot of opportunity for quality, high efficiency passes right now, so they are going to have to rely on that run game, and we will keep an eye on that play clock of St. Mary's. I expect them to bring it down well under the 10 seconds to try and maintain time of possession here in the first quarter.
Bill McLean, Elliot Richardson, Steve Betts down on the sideline. We'll be checking in with Steve periodically with guests or just to give opinion. There's Abanqua's first touch, spinning and juking and getting out to about the 40 for a 4-yard carry.
Nice change of pace, bringing Abanqua in to give Dawes a rest. And he showed off some of his elusiveness, which he's known for. There was some penetration by the Acadia defensive line there through the A and B gaps. With his shiftiness, Abanqua was able to turn a 4-yard loss into a 3-yard gain here to make it a 2nd and 7 St. Mary's.
Emails coming in fast and furious. I'll out there to Inez Graham and Thomas Greenman watching. AUSwebcast@gmail.com. And here's your 2nd and 7 for the Huskies right at about the 39-yard line here. 13:03 left in your first quarter. And a handoff for Abanqua straight up the middle. And that is going to be very close to a first down for St. Mary's.
St. Mary's coming out in a nice two-back set there. Tanowski is the fullback in the game right now. Big physical kid who's able to help move some bodies. Another person joining the party right there was Fitzgerald, number 87 for St. Mary's, a big physical receiver, similar to that of Darcy Brown from a few years ago, who's now playing the CFL with the Edmonton Eskimos after a stop in Hamilton. Both very similar players. Expect Fitzgerald to also be involved in the passing game as well, as he's a big target who can occupy the middle of the field.
So 3 first downs now in a row for the Huskies. And Legault, and once again getting back to Mike Dawes. Put Dawes to about the 50 before he's pushed back by a multitude of Acadia defenders. Brett Backman, the AUS All-Star, was in there.
Nigel Dawes showing off some of his skill set there. We talked about a Banquet can make you miss in the backfield to gain yards. Dawes took contact at about the 48, 49 yards line and was able to use his strength to be able to plow forward another 2 yards, putting St. Mary's in a slightly uncomfortable 2nd and 6 here. Be interesting to see if they open the passing game up with 5 receivers now in the game.
Sharon Armont watching in Massachusetts. Hello out there to you. Here's your 2nd and 6 with Legault. And it's going to be a handoff for a Banquet to the right-hand side, and he will be met and actually eludes a couple of Acadia defenders and nearly gets to the midfield, and the first down marker may have come up a couple yards short.
St. Mary's running their standard zone read play. Not quite as an option play there for the quarterback. By reading the Acadia defensive line, is able to decide whether he should pull the ball and run with it himself, or if the Acadia defensive line stay home, gives it to Banquet, which he did there. And Banquet did able to get a good job eluding the Acadia rush and get upfield for a gain.
So progress made a little bit there for the Huskies. But on 3rd down, they will be punting, and there is a penalty which will be declined. And this is another issue for this Huskies team, Elliot, the penalties. 24 against Acadia in the homecoming game at St. Mary's. Huskies have to be disciplined today.
Right, well over 150 yards, and the way we always kind of equated it when I played was if you take over 100 yards in penalty, that equates to a touchdown that you're taking off the board for yourself. So really you have to be disciplined, because that's the type of yards you can't afford to give in a close game like this.
That's going to be no yards on the Huskies more than likely. That was a dangerous punt return there. Catch, I should say.
Semolulu there on the return, the first-year player out of the Ottawa-Gatineau area. Smart play by him there to try to run up to catch it, knowing that if he's able to catch it, make contact with it, with a St. Mary's player in the 5-yard halo, he would draw a 15-yard penalty.
AUS All-Stars on that offensive line for the Axemen as well. Colin Murray, Tyler Honeywood, Wade Conrad, all All-Stars. And our first look, for me at least, at Thomas Troop, talented young 18-year-old running back for Acadia.
True freshman. Not something you see a lot here with kids going to Sajep and playing that extra year of high school in Ontario. But he is, an 18-year-old kid who's bigger than your average 18-year-old football player.
Good field position for the Axemen to start. And there's Taylor Renault. What a special receiver he's been again, the All-Star.
Good play selection by Acadia right there. Just looking to get something I think we'll see early on in this game will be passes that are high probability of success and have potential for bigger gains. So short passes, get them in behind the offensive line, get them upfield right away, and limit the amount of effect that the air can have on the ball here earlier in the game.
51 catches for 749 yards this year for Renault. He's with Squires, just an outstanding receiving core. And Andrew Healy as well has been stellar for the Axemen. In a play there for the Huskies. Neil King, the AUS All-Star, and they'll force the Axemen to punt.
Great play by the St. Mary's defense. Great flow to the ball right there. Acadia came out in kind of their rhino formation, which means they're bringing receivers into the box to get extra blockers on St. Mary's linebackers. St. Mary's linebackers, though, did a tremendous job getting outside the blocks, rallying to the ball, allowed the unblocked Neil King to come up and make a play.
Bajan and a Banquet on a nice big hop from his 10. And no luck there, getting right in on that tackle. Aaron King.
We've talked about it in previous broadcasts here on Acadia TV, but something to look for on this punt matchup with when Acadia punts is the gunners, the outside players on either end of the formation. They'll be the first ones down the field to try and make a play. Now, usually it's Brett Backman and Jarrett Laycock. Their primary job is to get down there as fast as they can, cause a bit of disruption, and not allow Abanqua to get to the outside. Brett Backman scored a decisive win against Eric Black last game. We'll see if Eric Black has learned from his film and able to improve his game this week.
Jean Legault right back to the ground with Big Mike Dawes, and give Mike big yardage through midfield and right up to about the 30-yard line.
Again, St. Mary's sticking with their game plan, establishing the run. I talked about it earlier in the season. Last time St. Mary's played here, again, expecting to run into the wind. That first quarter is similar to this one. St. Mary's running into the wind. They didn't pass the ball one single time in that first quarter against Acadia.
So Mike Dawes, 584 yards on the ground this season, and getting right back to work here. He's been a workhorse for this Huskies team. Give him 18, Legault. This time do the shifty little Abanqua, and he's got yardage through the middle, right up to about the 40-yard line. Second and probably a half yard.
Nice little zone run again. St. Mary's offensive line is doing a tremendous job at securing the initial defensive line, and then those guards are able to work off, chip up to the second level and secure those linebackers, giving Abanqua clear running lanes downfield and forcing the Acadia secondary to make tackles.
Evan Williams, Alex Graham in on that tackle. Hello out there to Janelle Vertfee, watching in New York, New York. Great to hear from you. So we're getting emails from all around the world. Let us know where you're watching the game from. Huskies with assertive ground attack here in the early going, but as they still haven't really made any progress to midfield, but they are, as you talked about before the game, ball possession, everything here.
Ball
for St.
possession
Mary's.
is everything. I mean, we're about halfway through the first quarter, and Kyle Graves has only been on the field for about 2 plays now. So just by playing solid offense and establishing the running game, taking time off the clock, they're able to limit how much Acadia's offense can hurt their defense. If this continues, they're going to slowly take advantage of field position, eventually get them in an opportunity to score.
And it looks like the Huskies didn't get much. I don't know if they're going to bring out, they're going to call in the measurement here, but just from what I can see, it looks actually like Elliott, maybe they did get it.
They did get it. Legault still on the field, so if they don't get it, regardless of the yards, I would expect them to punt it. You don't want to give Kyle Graves a short field with the wind. You want to try at this point maintain field position early in the game. Chip away, especially the way your offense is playing and how well your defense is playing.
Third down. And it looks like about, maybe 2 or 3 inches. And you got a feeling the Huskies won't be gambling too much, but you think you got to go on this.
First big coaching decision of the day for Coach Perry Marchese. He is going to go for it, looks like. If Acadia's defense is able to stop, that'll be a tremendous turning point here in the game early on.
Here we go, your first big pivotal play of the Loney Bowl. 3rd and inches for the Huskies at their own 40. It looks like Dawes straight ahead. Might have been Dave Sabarin, actually. I thought I saw Sabarin come in. No, it was Mike Dawes. And it looks like they got it. They did.
They went for the quarterback sneak there on 2nd and short. Didn't quite work as well as they thought, so they tried to give it off to the big fella that's been having a successful day so far. Give him a full-speed run at the pile, and he was able to advance the ball much more than the 2 or 3 inches that they needed for a St. Mary's first down.
Ball possession and first downs aplenty right now for the Huskies, and the ground attack are working with Big Mike Dawes. There's Legault, and they're going to keep going to Dawes. There's another carry, and straight up the middle, and another close to a first down.
Nice little counter play to throw Acadia off. St. Mary's been running a lot of zone plays. With everyone stepping to the left there, they pulled the guard back across the formation, able to keep Acadia's defense off balance. Again, allowing Dawes to get up into the secondary. It looks like Alex Graham with another tackle. Anytime your safeties and halfbacks are leading your team in tackles, it's not a good situation for your defense.
Looking like a 2nd and 1. Very manageable 2nd down here for St. Mary's. And Abanqua into the game now. Handoff for Abanqua coming right into your screen. A little bit of room, and he'll get to midfield and have a first down.
Again, just when it looks like he's trapped in the backfield for a loss, he's able to make a couple shifty moves, plant his feet, get upfield. Next thing you know, he's gained 6 yards on you.
Jarrett Laycock got in there for the tackle, but not before. Abankwa gets a first down for the Huskies. So 3 first downs in a row here for St. Mary's as they reach midfield.
This is where they did have trouble in their first drive. Let's see if they're able to learn from their mistakes in the first series, see if they can advance the ball deep into Acadia territory.
Abankwa again after about the 50 for Melvin.
Again, sticking with their zone play, keep it simple. The nice thing about a zone run is it allows the running back to decide where he wants to take the ball. Everyone steps to either the left or the right, in this case the left. Take your closest blocker, push him in that direction, and try and create a nice vertical lane anywhere for the running back to see and hit and get north and south right away.
7 minutes left in your first quarter, and the Huskies at Acadia's 51-yard line call this 2nd and 6. Legault straight under center. Fakes the handoff to Abankwa, and coming up short on that pass. Looked like Woodridge was out there, but it came up short.
Again, talked about in the first game, St. Mary's didn't run a single pass play their entire first quarter. Here about 9 minutes into the first quarter here in this championship game, that was St. Mary's first pass play in about 14 plays. built off their solid run game, ran a play action, had a player wide open in the short flats, the hook area, but were unable to hit him, which would have been a first down and then some.
So the Huskies will punt with Brett Lothar. And what a battle this is going to be today. One of the treats of watching these two teams is Lothar go at Graves. And I asked Brett about this last week. There's a trough snap, and the athletic Lothar manages to get it off in the wind, comes behind the Huskies special teams.
And that's something that I was going to mention it before, with the way Samalulu charged up and tracked the ball in traffic last time to catch it. What you will see here with the referees is looking to protect the players, and anytime you're kicking into the wind, it's coming back into traffic can cause a dangerous situation. So if the ball does hang up or come backwards, look for the referees to blow the whistle, which they did there, and spot it where it lands.
So Lothar does well to get it to the 38, but Lothar really enjoys this battle with Kyle Graves and the two outstanding punters going at it. And now we see Graves at the quarterback spot in the shotgun. And it's trouble on the handoff, but Graves gets back on top of it.
Again, it looked like a miscommunication. They ran that same type of zone option play where Kyle Graves had the option to give it or keep it. Can't quite see what they looked like they were trying to do. It looked like Kyle wanted to give the ball off, but Thomas Droop just didn't want to pick it up from him.
Kyle Norris got in there to jump on Kyle Graves. Hello out there to Jason Hatt watching in the Canadian Arctic from the Pond Inlet. So hello out there to Jason. As you are looking at a 2nd and 16 here for Acadia on the fumble snap. There's Kyle Graves. That could be holding on Acadia. No call forthcoming, and Graves rolls this way. Room for Kyle, and he takes a hit. Will there be a late flag? Nope. That was Lanza.
That's it. Kyle Graves right there showing off the competitor in him, and trying to get that first down, taking a late, not quite a late hit, but what I would qualify as an unnecessary hit. He wasn't going to get the first down. It'd be better off stepping out of bounds a yard earlier, preserve your body for the next play, especially when you have to use that leg of yours to punt.
3rd and 5. Jay Lang, I got in there on that late hit, or they didn't call it a late hit, but borderline hit on Graves. And Kyle, and this is one of the things I always admire about Kyle Graves, after quarterbacking and taking a hit like that, now he has to go back and punt. That's not easy.
No, it's not.
That leg he just took a hit on, he has to use to punt, and on a rolling kick gets one all the way back there to Fitzgerald, and he's quickly wrapped up at the 21.
There's Brett Backman again. We talked about him and Jarrett Laycock being the gunners, the force guys downfield on the punt team. Again, showing what type of an effect they can have on the game. If those two can get rolling from the Acadia punt perspective, they'll help try and win that edge in terms of special teams play.
Emma Dunker, what a special athlete she was. AUS All-Star in women's basketball for Acadia, checking in with us.
As well, a question regarding the status of James Fioroni from Guelph. James is in fact not playing today. Had I think a lower body injury they qualified it as, and won't be participating in this week's game.
There's a handoff. That looks like Sabrin. It is to about the 27-yard line. So both teams now missing all-stars. McNally, Fioroni.
Yeah, McNally not playing this game. Injured himself in late in the season, out with the knee this game, and definitely out for the rest of the season. Some will be missed. Evan Williams will step up and do his best job to take his place, as well as Fioroni, who's in his first year starting, has come up with quite a few solid touchdown catches, and but hopefully gets healthy in case they're able to play next week.
2nd and 6 for the Huskies. 4 minutes left in the first quarter. The Huskies have had it almost through it, and there's a big play for Acadia in the backfield.
Looks like Aaron King there. Again, St. Mary's going with their zone run, zone option there. It looked like Legault decided on his own he was just going to hand it off because we had Aaron King bending down the backside. Anytime the backside defensive end, who in a zone run play is unblocked, anytime he is running down or crashing down the backside of the offensive line, that's the opportunity where you want to keep the ball and pass it off the backside play, where you have the pass routes. Looked like a poor read there by Legault, who wanted to establish run game, and it resulted in the loss.
Law, punting into that wind again, and Acadia is now set up very nicely.
This is a good example here of the battle of field position we were talking about earlier. You're not going to see a lot of chances taken, especially in terms of fakes on third down, simply because you don't want to be giving away field position. Acadia's done a good job on defense so far, and now you see with some solid defensive efforts have now received the ball on St. Mary's 40-yard line, despite their offense not playing up to the billing so far today.
So here come the champs. Haven't had much luck so far, but now with the St. Mary's 40, Kyle Graves. Pass knocked down. So 2nd and 10 for Acadia. Not much luck so far for this Axemen team offensively. Hello out there to Kim Brown and Jack Fletcher watching. Snowing there in Grimshaw, Alberta. Don McCaskill in Grand Prairie. Coast to coast here on AUSTV.ca. Here's your 2nd and 10 with Graves at his 45. Over the top, he's got Squires, and over the head of Squires, and that is going to be a penalty.
Kyle Graves took a hit on that play as well. Acadia running one of their favorite formations, especially on 2nd down. We ran a nice little out pattern, short with Taylor Renault, and then a deeper corner route from Mike Squires. Looked like Mike Squires had some position on the defensive back there. Kyle Graves laid it out for him, but you could see just a little bit of an extra tug from the St. Mary's defensive back, pulling him down, which drew the flag.
Penalties have been an issue for the Huskies all season long, and right now your biggest play of the game on this penalty.
Right, because it didn't look like the best throw that Kyle...
Offensive pass interference. Wow. So a huge call here. Offensive is the call.
It's about that's a 30-yard swing there for the Axemen. Instead of being up 15 yards and a first down, they're actually down 15 yards and are still playing 2nd down as Brett Henney comes out of the game in favor of a 5th receiver.
So call this 2nd and 25 now for Acadia.
Look for St. Mary's defensive line to pin their ear back. They're going to be playing probably some man coverage right now. Expect a strong rush up here, expecting to pass.
Tristan Hercules here on the near side against Marshawn Wright. And there is Hercules, and maybe anticipating a hit there. Tristan couldn't hang with it.
Definitely anticipating the hit. Heard the footsteps of KO Marshawn Wright there. Right before the ball came, snapped his head up, looked for the hit coming, and when that happened, obviously dropped the ball. Receiver has to anticipate, and almost expect and want the hit, knowing that he's going to catch the ball.
Eric Black got in there with that hit. Axemen fans checking in. Hello out there to Wendy. That is going to be on the far side and out of bounds. No luck for Abankwah.
Good punt by Kyle Graves, looking to get out of bounds there to the sidelines. Something expecting to see both punters looking to do is a lot of the punts are going to be angled out, ideally between the sidelines and the numbers. You always want, as a punter or in a special teams unit, you always want to try and put the ball deep into the corner to limit the amount of field that returner can use, especially with a dangerous return like a banquet, something you're going to see today from Acadia.
AUSTV.ca, powered by Bell and presented by Budweiser. We are at the Subway Loney Bowl. And here are the Huskies going back to work. And maybe back to the line of scrimmage.
Zone play there by St. Mary's, just a straight zone to the field there. Dawes looked like Dawes up into the heart of the defense. Good job by the Acadia interior, though, finally stepping up and maybe getting some keys on the St. Mary's offensive line as to what they're trying to do and how they're trying to block them.
Sabourin got back to the line of scrimmage at the most. Call this 2nd and 10. Carla Adamson, watching from Calgary. Her son plays for Acadia. There's Jean Legault. And a Banqua to the far side. A little bit of room there for Melvin, but pushed out of bounds after about a 5-yard gain.
Well, they say that impersonation is one of the highest forms of flattery, and it looks like that St. Mary's has taken a page out of Acadia's offensive playbook there, running what Acadia calls, the Rhino offense, which is bringing, not only having 2 running backs in the backfield, but bringing extra larger receivers like Carl Fitzgerald in towards the box and bring extra blockers to the party. The hope is to try and crash down and seal the edge from the linebackers and then run a play to the outside. Acadia did a pretty good job, though, at escaping and getting outside and rallying to the ball to stop a banquet first before he got to the first down mark.
Looked like Harrison DaCosta got in on that hit on a banquet. And we'll have a 2nd or a 3rd and 5 here for the Huskies. Punting will be Lothar from Truro, Nova Scotia. His Brett. Acadia fielding at their 40-yard line and surrounded by Huskies there with Semalulu. Talked to Brett Lothar and again with the kickers, and you probably remember Justin Pillardi. You maybe even laced up against Justin in the CFL. Not sure if maybe that was after or during your time there, but
he was still on the practice roster when I was in the CFL. But he's doing a tremendous job right now.
And Brett Lothar took over, both Truro kickers. Brett Lothar took over for Justin Pillardi and has kept that St. Mary's kicking game, if anything, maybe elevated.
Yes, certainly has. And I know early in the season we had scouts from both the Argos and the Ticats visiting. Both of them talked very highly of Brett and expect them to have a CFL career.
Athletic Acadia fumble. Graves, Huskies football. Graves tried to scramble, lost it, and recovered by St. Mary's.
Outstanding hustle play from the backside of St. Mary's defensive line to come back there and make a play. Kyle Graves did what he was supposed to do. Anytime you're looking to escape, you want to step up in the pocket and then to the outside. You don't want to escape to the outside. Kyle Graves did what he's been coached to do, step up and escape to the outside. But it was the backside pressure, outstanding hustle play, the backside defensive end to come down and knock the ball loose out of Kyle Graves' hands.
Matt Lalonde jumping on that fumble. And the Huskies, though, with the recovery, but they're still on their own side of the field at the 42. Legault goes back to work. Handoff for Mike Dawes. They're going to try to get Big Mike involved and give him about 2 yards to the 44-yard line.
Acadia starting to change their play calling right now. Brought a weak halfback blitz there with Cam Wade off the edge, number 6 for your Axemen. Last year was a first-team All-Canadian and is another AUS All-Star this year as well. Depending on the offensive set for St. Mary's, Cam can sometimes almost be like that 4th linebacker that Acadia could possibly use to try and stop the run. He was an outstanding run defender last year, and expect him to get a little bit more involved as the game progresses.
2nd and 8, 21 seconds left in your first quarter, and then at the end of the first quarter, we'll head down to Steve Betts with his analysis here of what he's seen so far. Just an outstanding job being done by the production crew here. Local production crew with Chuck Calder and the Brian Fisher's Moncton crew coming up for the trip. And glad you're enjoying. Make sure you send us an email, auswebcast@gmail.com. Bill McLean here with Elliot Richardson. the Subway Loney Bowl. Powered by Bell and presented by Budweiser. Grab some buds, pull up a chair, and spend the afternoon with us. This has all the makings of an absolute dandy. No score so far. This has been the trend in Huskies Axemen games for a couple years now. Like, just not a lot of points to be had.
Well, I mean, even not just a few years. I think even going back to my first year with Acadia back in 2005.
That's going to be a flag. Flags all over the field. 3 flags thrown on that play.
Pass interference there on the first team All-Canadian Cam Wade there. Was in fact an outstanding play. Grabbing him behind the waist of Fitzgerald. It wasn't necessary though. If he had just left his right hand off of the receiver, would have been an outstanding pass defense. St. Mary's would be punting the ball, and Acadia would be able to march back down the field. Just simple technical error is going to cost them the first down.
So give that a first down to the Huskies and put them here at their own 49-yard line as we have 17 seconds left in our first quarter, and they'll maybe get one more play in here before the end of the quarter. No score from beautiful Raymond Field here on a gorgeous fall day in Wolfville. Lego. Handoff for Mike Dawes. Dawes close to midfield at the 54-yard line.
Cam Wade put his head in there again. He's going to have quite a few tackles, I think, this game. As a lot of even plays are designed to go to the field, Dawes will cut back towards where everyone's getting pushed to, especially on the zone plays. You push people towards that side of the field, which opens a lot of cutback lanes. Nigel Dawes is a great cutback runner, has outstanding vision, and as soon as he sees the holes, he knows to get north and south and use that big body of his to get positive yards.
There's the end of your first quarter. Let's go down to Steve Betts on the sideline.
Thanks, guys. I got to tell you, I got to give you an update on the wind here. I've been talking with a lot of people. Monty Mosier's here in the sidelines, of course, Kevin. We're sitting here in the wind, and it's very, very cold. As you can see, there's been some fumbles, some hard snaps by the St. Mary's long snapper. It's very swirly down here. It's causing a lot of problems. Both coaches, I've been listening in on them, and they're both saying that they have to pay close attention to this wind, guys, especially on the passing and on the kicking. The other thing is St. Mary's defense is pretty jacked up. I was over there just listening in on the coaches, kind of giving them a pep talk, and Finnegan, the leader on that St. Mary's defense, is in there, and he's telling everybody, keep attacking, keep attacking. They want Graves on his back, and he was yelling at the DBs in particular, give us a chance to get to Graves. So St. Mary's' defense have been playing hard all year. They've been doing a great job, and Acadia's just having a little bit of hard time getting the rhythm going. Coach Cummings does have his work cut out with them, but guess what? The wind's going the other way for both teams, so we're going to see a little bit of a change on how this all plays out in the second quarter. Back to you guys.
The 2012 Subway AUS Loney Bowl, powered by Bell, presented by Budweiser. Thanks again to Eric Cederman and on their outstanding staff here at Acadia, getting us all set up here in the broadcast booth. So, as we talked about there at the start of the game, and just off the camera with you and Kevin, the winds of Wolfville playing an effect here.
They have played a role in pretty much every game that Acadia's been a part of so far this year, and it'll be interesting to see if St. Mary's is going to open up the passing game a little bit.
What's the call here? Is it a catch and a fumble? Woodrich was there, Fitzgerald, and it is. They're going to give the catch to Fitzgerald, a fumble, and give the ball to Acadia.
And right off my cue, we asked, is Acadia or is St. Mary's going to now use the wind to their advantage and open up the pass game? First play they do, although an outstanding play by Brett Backman, the all-star field halfback for Acadia, coming up and laying a hit to deliver to knock the ball loose on what right now looks to be a fumble, an Acadia ball. Brett Backman is, we talked about him being a member of the gunner team on the punt coverage. One of the reasons you put a player out there is that he's a very fast and physical player, and that's the type of play you saw from him right there.
The officials did get together after that play and overturn it.
Okay.
So it'll be a third down and 6 here for the Huskies, and punting again for Lather. See, officials don't need instant replay. All they got to do is just get in and talk it out.
Talk it out.
Lather this time into the wind, and there's the boot of Brett Lather. Looked like about a 45-yarder. And big return is yours here for Semalulu. but brought down at the 35.
So not a huge loss there for Acadia. If they had that recovered fumble, it would have been scrimmaging from their own 40. Instead, they'll be scrimmaging from about the 34, it looks like. But it's interesting to see the difference in the depth of the punt with Brett Lawther with and against the wind. We saw some high-hanging punts when he's kicking into the wind. As soon as he gets that wind in his back, he's able to turn 35-yard punts into 65-yard punts.
So that was Nigel Romick getting in on the tackle. And now Acadia scrimmaging 1st and 10 from their 34. And there's the youngster Thomas Troop, the true freshman. Give him about 3 yards.
So Acadia is going to be going into the wind this quarter. However, they have the fortune of it is a longer quarter for them to try and establish a little bit more clock possession relative to what St. Mary's had without the stop time.
The Fahey family watching Alex Bell in multiple cities across Canada, North America. Great to hear from you guys cheering for Acadia. And our biggest email of the day in terms of distance, Seoul, Korea. 2:30 in the morning there in Seoul, Korea. Matt Doty. Ball is loose. It is on the field. And it looks like Acadia's got it back.
For now, anyway, Acadia will be punting now that it's 3rd and about 12. Again, that's the second time we've seen a bit of miscue between the quarterback and young Thomas Troop there on the exchange. Again, running their basic zone. Again, one of the most basic plays they have in the playbook, just a simple zone read play. Whether it's the indecisiveness of Kyle to hand it off or the inability of Thomas to receive the ball, it didn't look like either of them had a firm grip on it, and another ball on the carpet. Fortunately, this one has been picked up by St. Mary's, but with Kyle Graves punting into the wind here, there will be a short field for the Huskies coming back across the other way.
Ryan Bejan to kick. Hello there to Bob Watkins. Thank you very much, Bob, for those kind words. Glad you're enjoying there in Ontario. Yes, might get a good bounce here. No, out of bounds at about the 53-yard line, 51-yard line of Acadia. So here's the best field position of the day for the Huskies.
Right, and barely, again, we talked about, they'll be probably a short punt. Didn't expect it to be that short. Not even far enough to actually gain a first down, punting the ball there. But for St. Mary's, will now have their first opportunity at a short field, and with the wind at their back, now have bigger options available to them in terms of whether they want to run the ball or pass the ball.
12:48 left in your second quarter. Kevin Dickey, the athletics director at Acadia, and David Murphy, the athletics director of St. Mary's, coming up at halftime with Steve Betts. Running room through the middle for Mike Doss to give him about 4 yards on that carry.
Another little counter play from St. Mary's, stepping the line down to the left, trying to draw some of the Acadia defenders over to the right, and then brought a couple pullers back across the frame with Nigel Dawes running downfield. Lower his shoulders, able to get a solid 3 yards on the play.
So call it 2nd and 7 here for the Huskies. Huskies with 6 first downs in the first quarter, and Acadia with none. But nothing to show for it for St. Mary's. Fakes the handoff and just too far on the far side.
Nice little dropout pattern by Wuthrich. He's one of their better receivers for St. Mary's, a kid out of Edmonton, Alberta. Ran a nice little pattern, looked like he's going to push it vertical, but all he did was just come back right towards where the sticks were. Legault had the ball cut up a little bit in the wind, and did the first quarter, was thrown into the wind, so maybe a little bit of overcompensation in terms of trying to deliver it through the wind, and having it instead took it out of bounds for him.
88 yards to 5 for the Huskies in offense as well in that half, or in that opening quarter.
So a 55-yard field goal being attempted here.
Lothar told me one time in practice he had a 57-yarder. That is going to come up short. And we'll see if we'll set up the return. They will with Semalulu. Some space across the 20-yard line, still on his feet to the 28.
Almost blocked, too. Looked like Sean Stokwa, who's also the starting point guard for the men's basketball team, came in there and just looked like his hands are actually too high that the ball got underneath his hands and got towards the lines there. I think St. Mary's almost would have been better off punting there and trying to get Brett Lawther, who I would say is a better punter than he is kicker, trying to coffin corner them, put them inside the 10. Because the way the way Acadia's offense is playing right now, that if St. Mary's defense is able to come out and stop them, you can look at maybe getting the safety here and getting that 2-point lead early on.
Just over 11 minutes left in your second quarter. Acadia taking over at the 26-yard line with Graves. It's been a struggle so far for Kyle. And how about that tackle right there on Thomas Troop over the top on that play.
Looked like Nigel Rom coming from the backside there. Acadia goes with their counter play, which play they like to use a lot. Unfortunately, it's a slow developing play, so if you have a good defensive end like Romick that's able to crash down the backside of it, he's able to use his speed to get there and make a play from behind, because he is going to be, again, in a counter play, someone who's unaccounted for in the blocking scheme.
So big athletic play there by Romick. This is a St. Mary's defensive line missing their all-star Rob Jubenville. Trying to pick up the slack. Here comes some pressure and kind of forced Kyle Graves into a quick throw and a little bit behind Scott Kelly.
Nice little pass combination from there. Just a double slant there. Getting two guys trying to create some different levels for Kyle Graves to read. Made the right read there. Unfortunately, the throw wasn't where it should have been. If he had led Scott Kelly low and inside, Kelly would have been able to scoop down and pick up the ball probably for a first down.
Jason Works, hello out to you watching in Korea. Glad you're enjoying. 2:30 in the morning there. Glad you guys are with us. So struggles continue for Kyle Graves. Now 1 for 4 on the day for the two-time AUS MVP. Now in his 5th year, trying to close out his career with an AUS championship. Bejan. And that's to the sidelines and out of bounds. Looks like it's going to be around the 53-yard line.
Much better punt there, and again did the primary job of keeping the ball away from Abanqua. I know from when I played against St. Mary's, they still had dangerous returners back then. One of our primary goals, anytime we played a dangerous returner, at least kick it out of bounds, eliminate any kind of return. Even if you're going to have 32, 35-yard punts, it's better to have those than be punting the ball 45 yards and have them return 20, 25 yards against you.
10 minutes left in your first half. Huskies go 1st and 10 from the 49.5. And in the I formation with Abanqua, right up the middle is Abanqua. Give him about 5 yards as looked like Cam Wade, the all-star, got in on that tackle.
Yep, nice little inside zone play. Everyone stepping to the left there, leaving Abanqua just for the decision of where he wants to run with the ball and get upfield right away as Damone Blackman checks in for the Huskies receiver.
Second and 6 for the Huskies from the 45. It's Legault again, they're just counting on him to not turn the ball over, manage that run, and coming up a little bit short on that pass. And taking a hit in the process, there's a flag on the play.
You talked a little bit about St. Mary's being undisciplined last time that these two teams played. Well, since then, Acadia has been equally undisciplined, a few times extending defensive drives because of penalties like this. Andrew Rowe coming off the edge on a blitz, took that extra 2 steps to hit Legault, and instead now of getting the ball inside their own zone, now they're just putting St. Mary's into a comfortable field goal range for Lawther.
Reminder coming up at halftime, the two athletic directors of these schools, Dave Murphy, Kevin Dickey. At the 30, Legault, play action, and nearly an interception goes through the hands of Chris Call.
Chris Call checked in the game. Looks like for Suleiman Semalulu, who, by looking down the sidelines, I can't see if anything's wrong with him. Don't know if he got banged up on a previous punt return or if he's sitting out due to poor play. But Chris Call has, started the season at them for weak cornerback. Had kind of a breakout year last year, but this year has sort of been trying to play out of his own abilities and trying to make plays instead of letting them come to him.
2nd and 10, and right back to the ground game. And no dice for the Huskies. Met there by multiple Axemen, including Evan Williams.
Evan Williams on the tackle. Anytime you see your weak side linebacker, middle linebacker make plays, it's usually because you had an outstanding play from your front four. Kirby Fletcher and Tyler Jaworski are both big body players playing the interior of that line for Acadia. Usually their responsibility is going to try and eat up at least more than one block. If they can eat up 4 blocks between the two of them, it's really going to allow your second level players like your linebackers to scrape and make plays at or behind the line of scrimmage like we saw there.
Well, here we go. Maybe see if we get the first points on the board. It's Lother with a 35-yard attempt. It is up and high and good. So Huskies strike first, 3-0, a 35-yard field goal from Lother.
Brett Backman again in on the play. Could have been a questionable call there. Brett Backman did make contact with the kicker, and could have made a case for if Lother, decided to put on his acting shoes and take it topple over, could have maybe drawn a flag and further extended this drive. At this point for Acadia, especially from that outside position, you really just want to contain that kick. Make sure they don't fake it on you, because the last thing you want to do is give up a 15-yard penalty and lead them towards a first down when you're already getting yourself off the field.
Axemen take over at the 35-yard line. Cameron Carter, hello out there, watching in Oshawa. And Chris in Peterborough. 1st and 10. Kyle Graves, the handoff for Thomas Troop. Straight ahead, and there's your first big run for the rookie. Mark him at the 50, 14 yards for the AUS Rookie of the Year.
Again, just your basic zone play. We've seen lots of it today. All the offensive linemen step in a direction, pick up the closest defensive player, push him there, and give the running back options of where he wants to go with it. Thomas Troop finally looks like he's got his feet underneath of him. He's able to maintain his balance, get into the St. Mary's secondary, and for what I think is Acadia's first down.
That is their first down.
We're halfway through the second quarter right now, but Acadia does have their first down, and I think it just comes back down to how many times you're going to run. Eventually, if you keep on running the ball, if you trust in the run, eventually you'll get those plays, and it becomes cyclical now. If you're able to continue to get some of those runs, you're going to tire down the defense even more, and later in the game, those runs are going to start to grow exponentially.
Well, and an injury for the Huskies on the play as well. Back to it here, Acadia. That was O'Dane Finnegan going out for the Huskies. And now Kyle Graves trying to get into rhythm here. That'll be a 2nd and 5 play here for Acadia coming up.
One of Acadia's basic combinations, a little bit of a go route from Taylor Renault with an out route by Mike Squires, something that they use a lot. We could even see it back on this next play here, but with the speed that Taylor Renault commands respect to take some defenders with him deep, which opens the sideline route, the sideline out by Mike Squires there. It'll be interesting to see if Matt Lalone can expand there fast enough to try and close that window sooner. Right now you can see him at the top of the screen, tight to the line of scrimmage, expecting run.
Right at midfield, I formation, Thomas Troop breaks the tackle and to the 40 for Thomas Troop before tackled by Neil King.
Again, get into the secondary. The reason why that play worked, I highlighted Matt Lalone on that play at the top of the linebacking core, at the top of the screen. He's tight to the line of scrimmage in what we call a cowboy formation, kind of almost playing like a hybrid defensive linebacker position. But with the motion Acadia ran there on the counter, drew him further into the line of scrimmage, and then with the pulling guards coming back the other way, was able to create some space for Troop to get into the defensive secondary.
High formation under center is Graves. Another handoff for Thomas Troop. And look at the youngster break into open field and get down to the 23-yard line. 18 yards for Troop.
Great confidence by Chris Judd, the offensive coordinator for Acadia, it hadn't worked for him the entire first quarter with his running game, but instead of getting frustrated and trying to change it up, he stuck with the plays that are successful, knowing that eventually you'll be able to get some positive yards from them. Now it'll be up to the defensive coordinator, Devin Murphy of St. Mary's, to see if he can come back with a counterpunch here.
Acadia starting to roll. Here's Troop again, this time to the left. Leaps over a Huskies defender and taken down after about a 3-yard carry.
Kyle Norris there caused a little bit of issues there for Acadia. Came up on the blitz, occupied an extra offensive lineman. Normally would have been able to chip to the second level, and there's the reason why that Acadia wasn't able to advance the ball much further than 2 or 3 yards.
6 minutes left in your opening half. Huskies lead 3-0.
We talked about what the counterpunch is going to be, and that might be it. Look for a few more blitzes from Acadia or from St. Mary's linebackers here.
So now a big play, 2nd and 7 from the 20. Graves in his shotgun with Troop to his left. Over the top, a man is out there, it's a touchdown! It's Renault! AUS All-Stars combine, and it's the first touchdown of the game.
Into the wind, tremendous throw by Kyle Graves. Has really figured out sort of how the wind is affecting him. You can almost see it coming. I didn't want to call it for being proved. I didn't want to be shown as a liar, but Acadia went 4-by-1 there, put all 4 receivers on the left side at the bottom of your screen, isolated Taylor Renault at the top. Traditionally, St. Mary's been playing an extra safety over them. They played a true cover 0 there. Taylor Renault got a step to the outside, got vertical on him, and Kyle Graves put an absolutely perfectly placed ball into Taylor Renault's outside shoulder for the Acadia touchdown.
Conversion's good, 7-3 for the champs. And a flag on the play as well.
Could go either way on this one, depends what the referee wants to call it. It's either going to be on Jay Langa for pushing Mike Squires into Kyle Graves, or for Mike Squires for throwing him down on the ground. But it will be on. Looks like it will be on Acadia, applied on the kick.
As the band plays here in Wolfville, starting to heat up now. Kind of a slow first quarter, but we're getting down to some good football now.
The fireworks have literally just arrived, as we heard some of them being blasted off after the Acadia touchdown.
Jeff Cummins, livid over there.
Does a good job at working the refs. But on top of Acadia kicking into the wind now they have to kick and win from 15 yards back here on the kickoff. So we talked a little bit about what is St. Mary's counterpunch going to be to try and stop the run, and we thought it would maybe be blitz and play some cover 1, maybe some cover 0. But what that happens is you put Acadia's talented receivers in one-on-one matchups with all this space in the Canadian field, and Acadia took advantage of it.
All right, just about to kick off. Steve Betts, what was Jeff Cummins saying down there on the sideline?
Hey, Bill and Elliot. Jeff Cummins pretty upset here. He's basically yelling at the referees in a couple of plays. I don't think that he's a real big deal with them, but he's just saying that he's getting killed in a couple of instances, basically on some offensive plays, obviously. Something else to note, Finnegan for St. Mary's was injured last series, went out of the game, went back in the game, and on that rush right there, hurt his shoulder and hurt his hand, a little bit of everything, so you can see him over there in the bench. He's a hurting unit. If he is out for this game, that's going to be a very, very big deal for this St. Mary's defense. Back to you, Bill and Elliot.
All right, so Dave Finnegan may be out, and Jeff Cummins just working the officials a little bit.
He does that. He can get away with quite a bit if you have a chance to listen to Jeff Cummins work the refs over here. But whether or not it translates to more calls going his way has something that's been decided. But he is an opinionated coach and will voice his opinion when need be, especially during the heat of the game.
Meanwhile, Acadia with a pooch kick.
Again, another one of their strategies. You've seen it throughout the year, and especially against St. Mary's. Rather than risking putting it in the hands of a Banqua's, or in Banqua's hands, or earlier in the year, Jameek's hands, they're much more comfortable just punching the ball low and forcing St. Mary's to drive rather than gain big plays on kickoff returns.
Straight ahead, Mike Dawes gives them about 5 yards here to the 45-yard line.
Not many surprises here. I mean, we talked about it earlier. This is the 4th game they've played against each other, so at this point they know what each other's offenses be. They could pretty much trade playbooks, and they would still know as much as they do from watching film and noting down all the plays they run against each other. So it's going to be the rest of this game is going to come down to who can out execute the other team and which coaches can influence the other coach into making bad decisions.
2nd and 6. Woodridge out here, and that could be a flag. Nope, there is a flag. It was late, but Woodridge definitely got tangled up there with an Acadia player.
Looks like the
Drew Morse.
Looks like the St. Mary's coaches and bench were able to talk him into that one.
And actually,
looks like it's on the young kid, Suleiman Semalulu, got tangled up with Kevin Withridge. Bit of a questionable call. Looks like a little bit of incidental contact, a little bit of uncatchable ball, but it was a very good throw by Jean Legault there on recognizing the one-on-one matchup and putting the ball at least in a place where only his receiver was going to catch it. Wasn't in a spot there that Suleiman could have made a play, but only in a place where Withridge, who has been a bit of an Axemen killer this year, could have caught it.
all right, give the Huskies 1st and 10 from the 49. I formation. And a fake to a bank wide. Jean Legault right up the middle to about the 40-yard line. He'll be close to a first down.
Something we talked about pregame, something that different type of ability that Jean Legault gives the St. Mary's offense is the ability to run the ball as a quarterback. There they almost ran a little bit of a QB lead there. Looked like it was a bit of a counter action. They used the receiver, Fitzgerald, at the top of your screen, came in and almost acted like a fullback coming across to pick up a linebacker in the second level.
So 2nd and 1 here for the Huskies, trying to respond. This one's starting to pick up. 7-3 for Acadia.
Could be a deep play here.
A bank one. And hit in the backfield. Jesse St. James.
Again, that backside end we talked about. Anytime you run a zone play, that the backside defensive end is always unblocked. Quarterback's job is to read him and make a decision off of that. Whether he made the right play and Jesse just used his athleticism to get there, or whether it resulted in a loss. I was actually expecting, I mentioned it before the play, look for a big play. Anytime you have the wind at your back in 2nd or 1 to 2nd and 2, you can almost use that expecting to have a 3rd down and maybe catch your defense off guard, by having them think that it's going to be a straight up run play and then be able to beat them over the top.
Well, they're going to run Lothar out there again. And Lothar's got some distance. And it splits the uprights. So there's the guy that the CFL's looking at, a 49-yarder. And the thing is,
had room to spare. If he had put that much oomph on it earlier in the game, they would have had that extra field goal.
And that would have been good for about 50. That would have been 55, 56 easily.
60 maybe.
So Lothar, 7-6. Fireworks now from Acadia.
Getting close to the 3-minute warning here. It'll be interesting to see what Acadia's strategy is going to be, whether they're going to try and run out the clock or whether they're going to try and put together a couple drives, maybe challenge for a score. But at this point, they have the lead, getting close to the 3-minute warning. It'll be, again, these coaching decisions are starting to come into play.
Here's Kyle Grace in I formation. Penny to the left. And back to Thomas Troop. And no luck this time for Thomas.
Good adjustment by the St. Mary's defense, playing much more technically sound defense. Those Acadia running the type of counter plays they're running last series. Sounds like Devin Murphy rallied the group together, talked over, got them to reset and get better focused on what their keys are as a defensive unit. Normally, as a linebacker, you want to focus on your guards in front of you. If you have someone pull, you don't want to get too caught up in the centers going the other way. You want to follow that guard because he's going to lead you to the play. Same with the defensive end. Follow the guard down, crash down the line of scrimmage, and make plays for a loss like we saw there.
2nd and 10. 3 receivers here.
Comes a blitz.
The blitz, and Grace picks it up. And the man across the middle is Mike Squires, but only 5 yards for Squires.
The danger when you run the blitz is you leave a lot of short throws open, especially short plays across the field like Acadia hit there. Tremendous job by the halfback coming across the field with Mike to make a tackle and forcing Acadia to punt here.
Well, the true freshman Thomas Troop, it's getting cold up here, looking like a young Glenn Steele. Thanks very much to that Rock Hound showing his age, talking about Glenn Steele back in 1981, but thank you to Rock. And Rob Sherrard watching in Winnipeg. And once again, Kyle Graves back to punt here for Acadia. So the Huskies get the field goal and then hold. And should get it in pretty good field position with this punt into the wind from Kyle. That's going to hang up around the 40-yard line. Nice little bounce to the 35 for Woodridge. And it met right away on the far side.
Good strategy there by the Acadia special teams coach. I'm sure that was something that's planned. It's something that I've been used to with my special teams plays. We've always been instructed in big winning games. What you want to try and do is, instead of kicking the ball high up into the air to the boundary, you want to try and kick low line drives to the field so you don't have to fight the wind as much, and you also get those nice skips and bounces with the ball like Acadia did there.
Alex DaCosta cheering for the Axemen. Thank you very much. Watching there in Ottawa. 1st and 10 at the 38. Huskies trailing by 1. 2 field goals for Brett Lothar, 35 and 49 yards, and a 20-yard touchdown from Graves to Tyler Renault. Right back up the middle with Mike Dawes. Give him 7 yards.
Good play call again by St. Mary's offensive coordinator, head coach Perry Marchese. Drew the defensive ends, defensive tackles upfield with a pass set, and then just handed the ball off on the draw, looking like he just wants to try and calm down the aggressiveness of Acadia's front seven.
All right, so there's a timeout. Let's get ready to send it down to Steve Betts, and hello out there to Brad and Karen watching in St. John's.
Hey guys, just sitting in kind of close to everything that's going on the sidelines here, and I'm listening into the St. Mary's. They're trying to stay very positive here. They had a little bit of a hiccup, obviously, with the Acadia score, but they're trying to be very positive, especially with the offensive line. The running game for St. Mary's is obviously one of the stronger points. They've got to get that rocking and rolling because obviously this win today is affecting almost every throw that's gone out there. Kyle Graves showing that had a little bit of success with that, obviously, with the touchdown, but the running game is such a big part of this for St. Mary's. The coaching staff is being very positive with the linemen and saying, guys, keep rocking, keep going hard at this, and we'll get a break. Back to you, Bill and Elliot.
Thanks very much, Steve Betts on the sideline. Huskies with 8 first downs so far. Acadia has 4. But Acadia with the big major from Graves to Renault, and we stayed at 7 and 6. So as I mentioned there, hello to Brad and Karen watching in St. John's. AUSwebcast at gmail.com. There's Jean Legault. Fix the handoff. Here's your second down play. He's got a man, but a little bit too far on the far side.
Looked like Wuthridge again, that target from the boundary receiver spot. That's where you kind of put your premier playmaker as an offense over there. Traditionally it's a shorter throw. If you're able to move your receivers around accordingly, you're able to get a lot of one-on-one matchups, which it looks like they want to take advantage of. I had a chance to play with Kevin Wuthridge over in Edmonton. He was on the practice roster back then with me, and he's not an absolute blazer, but how he is going to beat you and how he beat Suleiman there is with his technique. He had a chance to really play with some of the top receivers such as Kamal Peterson and work with him in the offseason and develop his route running abilities and ability to stack the cornerbacks to get himself open.
Huskies trying to draw offside, but eventually will kick. Lothar gets past Semalulu on the far side, so it looks like he's okay.
Yep. And on top of trying to draw Acadia offside, another thing they're just trying to do is almost the guys up top above us in the crow's nest are trying to see how Acadia's defensive formation reacts to that. St. Mary's shifted over to the right, looking like they were going to run a fake. If the people up top notice for St. Mary's that Acadia didn't adjust accordingly, that could be a play that they come back to later.
1:53 left in your second quarter. Kevin Dickey and Dave Murphy coming up, the ADs of these two schools. An AUS pundit, who we can't name, did tell us to expect a trick play for Acadia with the off week. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. There's Kyle Graves, quick out for Renault. He's got the touchdown catch in this game and 8 yards on this play on the screen.
Again, a nice high percentage play there they ran. That's going to gain them some net positive yards. Only about a 15, 16-yard throw over there, but it ended up behind the line of scrimmage, but actually nets them almost a first down. It's the type of plays that you really have to focus on as an offensive coordinator when you're going into the wind, because you don't want to let that wind take advantage and take control of the ball.
Make sure you just stick around at halftime on your 2012 Subway AUS Loney Bowl halftime show. Athletic directors, commercials, and me and Elliot Richardson breaking down the first half. Straight ahead for Kyle Graves. And a first down here for Acadia.
Go ahead. Pretty much a gimme play there by Acadia. Anytime you have less than a yard to gain, you should have enough confidence in your offensive line to maintain that yard off the ball that the defense has to give and allow your quarterback just to push forward and gain that 1 yard.
Brett Henney coming out of the game. Scott Kelly entering as an extra receiver. Corey French checking in with us. Played with the Axemen from 96 until 2000. Also from Barrie, along with Kyle Graves. Andrew Healy out here with Kelly. 4 receivers on the near side. And they go to the far side, and incomplete for Mike Squires.
Looks like he takes another shot again. With all the receivers over to the front side of the formation or down to Acadia's left, tried to pull everyone across and use the speed of Taylor Renault to work space open to that side coming across. Again, great coverage again by the halfback / Sam linebacker Jay Langma is able to come downhill and make a solid hit. Mike Squires coming up, holding his shoulder. Looks like it could be something that could hold him up for an extensive period of time. We'll see how he gets evaluated on the sideline by the therapy staff.
1 minute left. Make sure you check out the new AUS.ca website. Have you seen that new website?
I haven't been on it yet.
Woo, baby, it
Thanks,
is awesome. Just a complete revamp of the site. All your stats, stories, athlete profiles, links, everything you need right there.
Do we still go to Atlantic University Sport?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And it is awesome. So great job there by those guys with that website. Here's a message for you, my friend, from Tom Lebensky Spirits.
Good pair. Hi, Rich. Hi, Rich Lebensky. He's also got a daughter playing here now, plays rugby as well as women's basketball. And Rich Lebensky himself is an Acadia alumni.
That nationally ranked Acadia rugby team at one point this year. Graves rolling out to his left. And no luck on that pass to the far side with Taylor Renault.
Renault was open, although he got caught in between whether he should run downfield or settle his feet, and wasn't able, with his feet not quite underneath him, wasn't able to haul in the low pass from Kyle Graves.
Jim Hines watching, thank you very much, sir, in Ottawa, and Ian McIver cheering for the Huskies there in Baker Lake in Nunavut.
So we'll see if Acadia goes back to that low punt to the field, which will be at the bottom of your screen here for you watching at home. Look for at the bottom of your screen, number 32, Brett Backman, going against Eric Black, is going to be the matchup that dictates the quality of this return. Eric Black, of course, the brother of Matt Black, who's going to be squaring off in CFL semifinal action for the Toronto Argos against Edmonton Eskimos, who has a host of AUS football players playing at professional level.
Low and just over the 50-yard line. Bouncing down to about the 47. Black. Get about 3 yards on the carry there for Eric to the 50. Again, 53 seconds.
Kyle going low there with the punt. Again, keeping with the idea, if they keep it low, they'll be able to keep it out of the wind and hopefully get some Acadia bounces their way. And also, when you don't catch the ball in the air, it gives the coverage team a lot longer to get downfield and corral the returner and push them out of bounds. Although still favorable position for St. Mary's with 53 seconds left in the first half.
Mark this at the 49-yard line for Jean Legault. He's played throughout. Started the year took over in the second game of the year for the Huskies, did Legault, and then started the last game against X in that critical do-or-die game for the Huskies. Comes up well short. It's been a bit of a struggle so far for Jean.
Yep, again, St. Mary's, though, offensive coordinator, looking to go with, again, a high percentage pass right now in the elements here. Try to go with a little bit of a screen. Unfortunately, threw the ball just short. Although if he had caught it, looked like he had some room to make a positive run.
The Fitzgeralds watching. Great to hear from you guys. Cheering for the Huskies. And Legault.
Now, Fitzgerald is someone I would look to get involved with the game. He's usually playing kind of an inside slot position. Had a couple balls thrown his way earlier. But you look at Carl of how physically physically imposing he is a football player. Big body receiver who's got some moves to him. You get the ball to him anywhere near him inside that space, he's going to be able to make some catches. He had a bit of an effect earlier in the season with some quick slants and some balls right down the seam. He's someone that I think has some pro potential to play some receiver as well as some special teams at the next level.
Been an interesting season for Jean Legault. With Jack Creighton going out in injury after the first year, then he took over the start, and then replaced by a rookie, then named the starter for that big game with St. FX, where somehow they were able to keep it quiet that he was going to be the starter, and now he is in the Loney Bowl. But he's kept a positive outlook throughout the entire season.
He has, and the coaching staff has done a good job at tailoring the plays in their playbook to his strength as a quarterback. And we've seen that so far today.
His parents in the stands today from Sherbrooke, Quebec, and there's a fumble, and it's Acadia football. 45 seconds still left in the half.
What usually is a high percentage play has turned into a turnover in Acadia's favor. A basic little shovel pass. Only have to get the ball a couple yards to your running back. But it looked like Kirby Fletcher there, when the inside players for Acadia stayed at home, recognized that it was going to be, didn't get caught up with the traffic going upfield, stayed at home, and got his hand in there inside of Banqua's mitts to be able to knock that ball loose.
Give the Axemen the ball at the Huskies 45, 1st and 10. Henny to the left of Graves, and Troop about 2 yards behind him. Huge possible turning point here. Graves to the outside looking for Renault. He's got him. Give him 8 quick yards, and he's out of bounds.
Again, same type of combination we saw earlier, although instead of Renault going deep, he's running the out pattern, and the inside player this time is drawing that coverage deep with him. Again, it's a combination that Acadia likes to use consistently. It's one St. Mary's likes to use as well. We're going to see, have an extra bit of a focus on this next play to see how St. Mary's reacts. Although with a 2nd and 2, look for maybe Thomas Troop to take the ball here for a first down. Check.
Here is 2nd and 2. Huskies defensive line dig it in.
Box is stacked. 7 people within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage.
Graves, quick drop. And going for the end zone with Renault, but no luck. He got squeezed out there by a pair of Huskies defenders.
Good job by R.J. Cornish there at the top of the screen, not giving up space to Taylor, and then as well the safety coming over to helping on the play, break up the ball. One thing Cornish did a good job there is normally when Taylor Renault attacks his defensive player vertically, he gets inside of him, uses speed to get vertical, and then gets back on top of the player, so you really have no other option except to pull him down from behind. Cornish held his position there. Stayed side by side with him and didn't let Taylor get on top of him and squeeze him out of bounds.
Mike Rostas, hello out there to you, sir. The tallest free safety in the past decade.
I don't know about that, Mike.
Is that a shot?
That is a bit of a shot from our good friend Mike Rostance. Always has something creative to say. He preceded me after I'd left here for a solid 4 years. Was a quality player as an Axeman playing safety. Now they've decided to go a different route here at Acadia and actually get someone over 5'9" to play that safety position. Alex Graham checking in around 6'1". But Mike's probably the shortest safety in the past decade here for the Axemen.
John Richardson checking into us with us, watching in Toronto, and Todd Allen, a former proud to have won 2 AUS championships in 96 and 98. Todd Allen. We got a question for the coach or for Elliot coming up here from Jason Works, watching there at about 3:30 in the morning in Korea.
We'll see 3rd down and 3 here.
You got I formation as Healy comes with Kelly. Henny right up the middle. Fake the pitch to Troop, a quick handoff for Henny, and it's a first down.
Again, that's just Acadia. Good job working off their tendencies over the past 3 or 4 weeks. Thomas Troop has a lot of success with tosses and running plays to the outside of the field, and they kind of went against their tendency of doing that, faking it and bringing the ball back into Brett Henny for a first down.
30 seconds left, 1st and 10 for Acadia. At the 30, Tristan Hercules has it at the 2-yard line. Made the adjustment and made the catch. As the cannon goes, but that is not a touchdown. Does it go on completions to the 2-yard line too? Or?
Apparently, apparently Acadia has set the bar low in terms of plays that receive a cannon shot.
1st and 10 for the Axemen, and the Huskies want timeout. They're not going to get it. Here we go. Troop quickly engulfed by Huskies, a 3-yard loss. Big stop there.
Good idea by the Axemen, trying to go with a quick play there to try and not give St. Mary's the opportunity to try and set themselves defensively and really figure out the setup that Acadia is using. But St. Mary's is able to set up properly, diagnose the play, and react accordingly.
Huskies pressure. Healy was the receiver. No call forthcoming. Good coverage there by Renyak.
Be an interesting call here. How was Jeff? First, again, we've had a defining moment earlier with St. Mary's and Coach Perry deciding whether he's going to go for it on a 3rd down. Now we have Coach Cummins' decision of is he going to go for it here, try and close the quarter with a touchdown, or take the easy points. Looks as if though our question has been answered as the field goal team marches out here for Acadia. Coach Cummins, knowing that points are at a premium at this point, looking to take the points available. One of the rules as a coach is you never want to take points off the board. If you're able to take points, you want to take them, because you never know if you're going to need them later on in the game.
No guarantee, kicking into a pretty strong wind here as well.
No.
Abankwa is back there.
It is about the distance. It is about the distance of a extra point for Acadia, and fortunately for Ryan Bajan, who's had some trouble from the right hash, is going to be kicking it from pretty much straight on.
So 7-6, our last play of the first half. No problem for Bajan. 10-6 at the end of the first half for the Acadia Axemen here from Raymond Field. That's a pretty good second quarter.
It was. The first quarter, I mean, similar to last game with Acadia and St. Mary's, bit of a feeling out process between the two teams. What tendencies and play packages are they going to use? And then second quarter, the offense coordinators kind of decide how they're going to approach it and use that method of attack. It's something that's pretty consistent here with these two teams and just with any preparation of a head coach and offensive coordinators is you have your set number of plays that you have, and then throughout the course of a game you pare those down to what's going to be effective regarding in terms of how your opponent's playing you.
All right, so your halftime show begins. We have emails to answer. We have Steve Best on the sideline. And let's go down to Steve now, who looks like he's with O'Dane Finnegan of the Huskies. Go ahead, Steve.
You're absolutely right. I am here with O'Dane Finnegan, a very big part of this St. Mary's Huskies defense. O'Dane, obviously you're out for the rest of the game. Is that the case?
Well, we're going to go in at halftime and check it out and see what comes from that.
Absolutely. Obviously, had a really good first half. Your defense this year has been a key focal point. Any key points that coach has been slamming in your head all year to make it to this game today?
Well, there's one simple rule: just do your job. Defenses are built on schemes and built on teamwork. So it's a very simple formula. Everyone comes in, you have a job to do, you do your job, and it'll all come together.
O'Dane Finnegan, guys. I hope to see you back in the second half. Thank you very much. Back up to you guys, Bill and Elliott.
All right, Steve Betts coming up here in a couple of minutes with David Murphy, the athletics director at St. Mary's. Let's answer this question really quick. Any big trophies going out to Acadia this year? Either a Coach of the Year for Coach Cummins, again, he won it last year. Heck Creighton for Kyle Graves. You see any of the Axemen getting big trophies this year? National trophies?
We can maybe pare it down to probability of, and maybe by knock it down by process of elimination. As good as season Graves has had, I don't think he has a chance for the Heck, simply because of the fact that Kyle Quinlan has been absolutely outstanding, just really been playing out of this world in terms of quarterback position. I think he's pretty much a lock for it. The head coach, the Tyndall Trophy, Cummins won last year, and part of it is how much of an improvement his team made. I think there's going to be another coach out there that has made a similar improvement and going to win it in that case. So I think that who has the best chance is Thomas Troop, although with only having started 4 games, his chances are limited as well. He has the best chance, but I don't foresee a big trophy coming back to the Acadia campus this offseason.
All right, hello out there to John and Carolyn Wilson watching, cheering for Acadia and Hamilton. All right, Steve Betts has David Murphy, the athletics director at St. Mary's. Let's go back down to Steve Betts.
Thanks, guys. I'm here, of course, with David, Doc,
Yeah,
Murphy.
Doc, yeah,
Absolutely. How you feeling today on this very cold day? St. Mary's obviously doesn't have the points up on the board right now that they need to be in front here. What are you thinking here?
Well, I think it's got a very fine football game going here today. And when you're playing against the wind, as both teams are today, you look for a little consistency in your running game. You hope like heck that you're going to get the break and not make the mistake, because whoever makes the mistake, whoever blinks first, is going to lose this football game.
Of course, sticking with the actual day today, Brett Lowther, one of the best kickers in the country, probably headed towards the CFL team. And, of course, Legault, the quarterback here. So you got two guys who are kind of key here. Do you think they're going to factor into the second half as well?
Well, I certainly hope that Lowther will with his kicking, and I just hope that Jean controls the game as best as he can. Just don't do anything wrong. Just control it.
Absolutely. Now you're with Doctor for quite some time. Yeah. Filled me in on that. How are you fitting into your role here at St. Mary's? Obviously, you took over in some stormy weather, doing a great job. You've got a lot of things on the go right now for yourself.
Well, I certainly do. I don't think I've ever left St. Mary's since I was a student there, and it was a real privilege for me to be asked to come back and step in the role of athletics director, and I'm very happy to be there. You're right, there's a lot on the plate right now. I wish I had started a little bit earlier. September was kind of late in the year to start, but we're getting caught up now, and I really like the direction in which the school, in which the athletics department is going right now.
Absolutely, and a lot of the addition of Homburg Center. Your women's hockey team was a sour point, but guess what? They're back and they're getting victory. So St. Mary's is absolutely headed in the right direction. Anything big coming up on the horizon that you want to let out of the bag?
Nothing that I can let out of the bag. I think that everybody knows that we're going to have the stadium redone, and that's coming after the end of next football season. So we're very excited about that.
That's exactly what I was talking about. I knew you'd nail it right on the head. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on.
Doc Murphy, guys, back to you.
All right, we're back here at beautiful Raymond Field in Wolfville, Nova Scotia. It's the 2012 Subway AUS Loney Bowl right here on AUSTV.ca, powered by Bell Alliant and presented by Budweiser. Friends, thank you so much for being with us, and all your emails so far, keep them coming, auswebcast@gmail.com. Let's take a commercial.ca, the home of AUS championships all year long. When you get ready to watch your AUS championships, make sure you go to AUSTV.ca. We are the webcasting home of the championship series. Powered by Bell Alliant and presented by Budweiser. And remember, visit our major sponsor, Subway. Eat fresh, drink fresh all the time with Subway. And again, thanks very much to Eric Cederberg of Acadia, and all our friends, John Keefe, everybody with the AUS who got us all set up. All right, Steve Betts, ready to go here.
All right, Bill and Elliot, hope you can hear me. It's so cold out here today, Kevin, that everything's freezing up. So I'm here with Kevin Dickey, obviously the athletic director here for Acadia. Kevin, everything seems to be going your way. So far, so good.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, we're pretty happy with that last drive, but St. Mary's done a great job. I mean, they came in here and we knew they were going to run the ball, and they pounded it early, and the wind's such a factor here that you got to make hay for 15 minutes when you have it. So we'll see what happens in the second half.
And in kind of an ironic turn, the touchdown for Acadia, a lot of running there. So is that a kind of a surprise for you? Because Kyle Graves is obviously a throwing team. Squires, you got Renault on this team, but that was a running drive, basically.
Yeah, you know what? We've gone to a different level here since Thomas Troop has, really taken off here. It's been probably about 5 games, and he's really allowed us to be able to, to pound the ball. So first half, we had the wind. We tried to take advantage with some passing, and second half, Thomas did a great job, and I thought the play selection was, it was good to watch.
A little bit of a side note, Acadia hockey taking off. You got a lot of things on your plate as well. I was talking to Doc Murphy from St. Mary's, your counterpart and all this. Things are quite busy for you at this time of year, obviously. How's everything rolling for Acadia in that department?
Well, athletically, it's outstanding. I mean, our hockey and men's basketball are ranked 3 in the country. The women's basketball team and our football team are both ranked 8. Our rugby team played in a national championship last week, and so athletically, we're on a pretty good roll right now. Knock on wood here that we can get through today. A lot of work to do, but academically, we're doing a great job as well. We have 79 academic All-Canadians, so that's as good as it gets in the country per capita based on the size of our school.
Absolutely, athletes as well as students. Now let's talk about a little bit about this event. Subway Loney Bowl, it's a very big deal. What's it like putting on such a big event that's watched by so many?
Oh, it's outstanding. I mean, this is I was an athletic director at at a different university here for 6 years that didn't have football, and I'll tell you what, you don't know what you have until you actually are able to experience what we experience in the fall, and it's just incredible. And I mean to earn the right to have the bye to host the game and then to have the crowd on a nippy day like we have, it's as good as it gets. It's an unbelievable college town. There was a buzz in the air about 7:30 this morning, and it's very exciting.
Well, Kevin, thank you very much for your time. You can go grab a hot chocolate, get inside where it's nice and warm. Kevin Dickey, athletic director here at Acadia, and very obviously a great product, and Kevin, you're a part of that. Thank you very much.
I appreciate everything you guys do. Thanks for doing this.
Not a problem. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks very much, Mr. Betts, down there with Kevin Dickey. So how's that for halftime entertainment? The 2 athletic directors of these schools. Thank you very much, Steve, and thanks again, of course, to Kevin Dickey and David Doc Murphy. Well, friends, here we go, the start of your second half, and join again. We have a very special presentation going on here at halftime. So we'll talk about the start of this second half with Elliot Richardson. Elliot, the ground game. Big there for the Huskies. Not big in points, but in terms of controlling the ball, keeping Kyle Graves off the field, as you talked about.
Right. I would probably say that St. Mary's is somewhere that they're pretty comfortable right now. They're only down 4 points, 1 big play away from being in the lead, and part of that is due to one of 2 things. One, their running game has been able to control the clock, keep Kyle Graves off the field. Talked about the difference in first downs with St. Mary's having the lead, and also their defense is playing extremely well too. If you get those 2 things moving in the right direction, eventually you're going to shift that field position with quality special teams play in your favor to get those short fields to enable yourself to give yourself some easy points with only having to make 1 or 2 first downs as opposed to 5 or 6 to get those same amount of points.
Safe to say the biggest play of that game could be maybe the fumble by the Huskies in the last minute, giving 3 extra points to the Acadia.
Right, points off turnovers always one of the biggest stats you want to look at in sort of how a game is shaped. It's not always some turnovers do play a factor, but if you're able to capitalize off those are again free points you would otherwise wouldn't have expected. Again, because of short fields that allow you the opportunity of having to only put together 4 or 5 drive plays as opposed to 10 or 15 play drives.
Kyle Graves, 7 of 14 for 80 yards. Jean Legault, this has been a struggle for the Huskies. 1 of 7, negative 5 yards for Jean. Huskies have controlled the ground game with 114 yards, led by Big Mike Dawes. But at some point, you get the feeling Jean Legault is going to have to make a few big passes if the Huskies are going to pull this thing out.
He will, and they won't have to be difficult, huge passes. They just have to be the right type of play selection. Right now, the running game is working so well that all the pressure in the world is not on Jean Legault's shoulders. If the running game can continue, put him into 2nd and 4, 2nd and 6 type things, then very manageable throws. He has Fitzgerald. He has Kevin Withrich. Good options that can work their routes inside the numbers, inside the hash marks, make much more manageable throws. To enable to try to continue to move the chains. Again, look for some quick slants, quick seam plays for St. Mary's, as well as some screen passes to help move the ball down the field without the use of the running game.
All right, so Acadia will get us started with a kickoff, and that is losing track here into the wind. Bonqua off a nice little bounce again for Melvin. That's the second time he's had a fortuitous bounce. This time gets to the 35-yard line, and Mike Dawes back on the field for the Huskies. He's got 67 yards on 11 carries. Second quarter belonged to the youngster, though, Thomas Troop. A glimpse into the future for AUS fans of this young man.
Exactly. He's reminiscent of a few players. Jordan Pavlich, who played here in 2004, had an outstanding year. He's a little bit like Zach Skibbon, who was an all-star last year for the Axemen. But, I mean, the kid's only 18 years old. He's only just started to get involved in the in-season training program, and as he progresses as an athlete, will become a lot bigger, stronger, and faster here at the AUS level.
There's Mike Dawes. I'm going to try to get him going again, give him about 4 yards. Nice first down yardage here for St. Mary's.
Expect St. Mary's to not bring down the play clock every single play. They're going to want to try and utilize the win to their advantage right now, because Acadia's going to have the advantage in 2 ways in the fourth quarter. One, they're going to have the wind, and two, they're going to have a longer quarter. We know with the stoppage in plays late in the fourth quarter, it's going to be an extended fourth quarter, giving Kyle Graves more opportunity to have the ball in his hands with the wind.
14 minutes left in your third quarter. 2nd and 7 for the Huskies, and there's Dawes again with a burst of speed across the 42-yard line, but it looks like he's about a yard short.
Again, another outside zone play, stretching it out towards the outside of the Acadia defense. Michael Dawes again, able to see the hole open up in front of him, just outside of his guard, between him and his tackle. Able to see that hole, get upfield, and get vertical. Mike Squires now re-entering the sideline in a sweatshirt. Someone who went down earlier in the game with appeared to be a shoulder injury. Obviously doesn't look like he'll be back this game. The question is whether his teammates can play up to the level they need to make sure that he has an opportunity to play next week.
So developing storyline maybe. Mike Squires not in this lineup for the second half. And here's Brett Lother to kick. Hello to Sharon Armand. Thank you very much. And maybe a low snap, but getting it away again. Lother showing that athleticism. And eventually does get it off, and a big booming punt over the head of Moran. And then brought down there by Neil King.
Lother kicking it away from Semolulu, who's had some quality returns in this game. And it seemed like Elijah Maroon, misjudged it a little bit, misjudged the depth at which Lother can kick the ball and let it sail over his head. Nothing good can happen to you as a returner when the ball goes over your head. Just like an outfielder in baseball, you always want to be attacking the ball on the run, get deep and come forward, as opposed to trying to chase behind and try and pick up the ball.
Valerie's Flutter Founda. Hello there to you. Memar and Pepper cheering for James Young. First down. Give 15 here for Acadia on the flag, and looks like 2nd and 2.
Straight ahead dive play looked like a little bit of a inside zone play. Thomas Troop taking contact only about 3 or 4 yards past the line of scrimmage, but with keeping his feet moving, which you always want to do as a running back, keeping his feet moving, spinning off the tackle, was able to generate another 3 or 4 yards to get Acadia close to another first down.
And with all this groundwork, this game is rolling along here. 12:23 left in your third quarter. 10-6 for Acadia. I formation for the Axemen. All this 2nd and 2, and there's Thomas Troop again. Gets hit. That was Lalonde in there. And close to a first down, though.
Lon did a good job at taking on the puller there, and still being able to attack the line of scrimmage and make a play for what will be close to a first down. Looks like it will be short, so it'll be interesting to see what Jeff Cummins' strategy is, whether he wants to punt the ball or try and advance the ball about half a yard for a first down.
Looks like maybe 3/4 of a yard. And at his own 25, or at the 25-yard line here of Acadia, into the wind. That's closer to a yard than a foot, for sure.
Not a lot of movement on the Acadia sideline. Looks like players retreating. Kyle Graves marching back onto the field.
All right, so is Coach Cummins going to roll the dice here? Maybe
that's a long yard too.
This could be the biggest play of the game.
Like you said, closer to a yard than a foot.
Huskies defense will dig in. Romick, Graham, Bell, and Buffalo up there.
Playing against the inside all-stars of Acadia's offensive line.
Huskies cram the line. Graves straight ahead. King jumped over the top, but it looked like Graves snuck under.
Looks like the official number 31 is marking it ahead of the 25-yard line, which looks like it is the marking for a first down. If he has it, doesn't have it by much, but looks like he does.
First down for the Axemen. Well, Jeff Cummins rolls the dice. Showing confidence in his offensive line. Why not? He's got 3 AUS All-Stars out there.
And showing some experience. Well, these are. I mean, he's been this is almost his 10th year as a coach in the AUS. He's had the opportunity to see a lot of situations and is able to build on past probably failures to realize that this was a good coaching move to make going forward.
Got Steve Betts down there on the sideline. Going to see if he'll interview Mike Squires. Hopefully Mike will maybe give us an interview. Pressure on Graves. Rolls free, but no luck. Brought down by Romick.
Keeping with the play. Did a great job staying with it. Acadia offensive lineman tried to come up to peel him off of Kyle Graves, but held on tight, and now it's 2nd and 15.
All right, so stand by. We're going to have an interview with Mike Squires coming up in a few minutes here. Betsy's made arrangements to have the interview with Mike, the first team, or the AUS All-Star, who is no longer in the game.
I just saw the replay there on the Eastlink TV, and looked pretty good. Ron was actually able to fight off three blocks there, 2 chop blocks, and another upper block to get to Kyle Graves there.
That is low and incomplete. So 3rd down now for Acadia. Well, let's send it down to Steve Betts here, who has the information on Mike Squires.
Hey guys, just talking to Mike. I asked him for an interview, but he's obviously quite upset right now, and I can't blame him. 5th-year guy for Acadia. He is hurt. He's done for the day. He did tell me that. But he wants to be with his teammates. He wants to be a part of it, and he's going to stay positive and cheer them on. Unfortunately, Mike Squires for Acadia is going to be out for the day for this Acadia Axemen team, who are up right now 10-6, and Squires is going to be missed for sure. Back to you, Bill and Elliot.
All right, so thanks very much, Steve. So no Mike Squires as we expected. And now to the 45-yard line with that punt. And Husky there didn't hear the whistle. That was Harrison DaCosta. Or check that, sorry, Leslie Moore.
And Andrew Rowe there.
Yeah.
Andrew Rowe, I might even put that one Andrew Rowe. Andrew Rowe is known to mix it up a little bit with the opposing team. We saw him take a penalty earlier on, and he's a guy that tries to get under the skin of his opposing players, similar to kind of a Sean Avery type person. Will do those little things during the play and behind the play that never get caught, but always get a reaction from the opposing team.
All right, well, the Huskies 1st and 10 from the 43-yard line. Legault and Abankwah. He's had a quiet day so far. It's been Dawes carrying the load, but give Melvin about 4 yards.
Bank was coming and done a very good job at change of pace, which is, I mean, his primary role. Dawes will come in and be the physical, be the hammer, and Bank comes in to change of pace a bit. What I haven't seen, which I expect to see a little bit of, is Banquo and Dawes at the game at the same time, and maybe line a Banquo up as a receiver and bring him across the formation, give him the ball in some fly sweep patterns, or put him into space at the flats. Maybe something they turn to later, but so far we haven't seen.
Mark this at the 38.5-yard line. Call it 2nd and a long 5 for Legault. Straight ahead. And that is going to be close to a first down. That looked like Ryan Sawaki, actually, running there. We'll wait to see. I thought it's number 34. That was Mike Dawes. So many big Huskies running backs.
Huskies, huh?
Yeah. Talking to Coach Marchese over the week about, are we seeing the resurgence of traditional Huskies football with that big power back and the shifty little running back? And he said, let's not go there yet. But he says it is promising signs with that combination of Dawes and a Banquo.
I know it's something that I had to get used to facing when I was playing for the Axemen. We played against players like Jacques Lambala, Alistair Blair, to name a few. Big physical backs that really wear down on you. And although they've been making some moderate gains here throughout the course of the game, what it does, it has this the snowball effect where the more gains they make, because they are bigger bodies, the more of a physical beatdown they put on the defensive players, and only leads to bigger and longer runs down the game.
Big play here. This is 3rd and 1. Huskies will go. Legault, Dawes over the top, gets hit. And fell to his left and slightly forward. We'll see what happens here with the call. It's a spot, I should say. And it's a first down for the Huskies. As seen on their big TV by Bob and Norma Edwards. They got the computer hooked up to the TV. That's what you do right there. You get the computer, you get the HDMI cord, hook it up to the TV.
And you get the HD signal from Bell going into the TV, essentially getting the HD feed right from their cable company.
Invite the neighbors over, and they're good to go. Call that 2nd and 8 now on that carry for the Huskies.
Nice little zone again. Dawes cutting it back against the grain, getting vertical, falling forward again. Could be signs of, Acadia's front 7 wearing down just a little bit. Because not only do they have to make tackles against the big running backs from St. Mary's, they also have to take on the big offensive line. That's the other thing I remember from my days, too, of playing against St. Mary's is, the 6'4", 6'5", 6'7", 300, 320-pound offensive linemen that just lean on you all game, lean on you, and eventually start pushing you, and you start giving up more yards.
4 yards on that first down carry. Here's 2nd and 6. It is a banquet to the left, cuts back to the middle, and wrapped up right there by Morris. Give him maybe 1 yard. Don and Sharon watching in Penticton, cheering for Riley Brown. Well, here's Brett Lothar again. He's made 2 field goals so far at 35 and 49 yards.
With a little over 8 minutes, there is a possibility you could see a fake. There are some. Kevin Withrich can throw the ball, and there are some players like Fitzgerald out there that could get into the secondary to make a catch here.
You're just starting to hear some Acadia coaches say it, just what you said, but Lothar will come through and connect on his 3rd field goal of the game. This one from 33 yards.
Again, showing why we talked about it earlier, why the CFL scouts that have made it to the East Coast this fall are interested in him as a potential pro kicker after this season.
Lothar was 16 for 20 on the season for field goals. Had one game against Sherbrooke where he hit 5 of 5 from 38 to 43 yards, respectively. Just an incredible day.
I think he's 2 for 3 today. He's only missed coming from 55, and a kick that looked like it maybe got caught up in the wind. Even though he was kicking with the wind, sometimes the wind here at Raymond tends to swirl, and looks like it kind of caught up in a swirling, changing direction wind, and just fell short.
So 7:45 left in your 3rd quarter. It's a 1-point game, 10-9 for Acadia. Handoff play and give about 7 yards here. Actually, on the first down, maybe, for Acadia.
Depends where they give progress. But it looked like Eli Prochnow, who's a converted quarterback, getting the ball in the fly sweep there. Just a little bit of a change of pace that they can do with Eli. We talked a little bit about potential trick plays. That could be something that they continue to rep. If Acadia continues to rep that fly sweep, if they're able to hand the ball off behind him to Eli, that he'd be eligible to throw the ball downfield.
First down for the first touch of the game for Eli Prochnow. And to give Acadia the ball at the 45-yard line. Taylor Renault, Andrew Healy over here on this side. I formation for the Axemen, Henny in motion. Hand off to Thomas Troop. Gets tripped up on his own teammate there.
Again, Nigel Rodmick, again, the disrupting force for the St. Mary's defensive line. We talked about him earlier, beating 2 cut blocks and a 3rd block to try and make the sack on Kyle Graves. There he penetrated and kind of blew up the pulling guard there. forced Thomas Troop to readjust and slowed his progress down before he get upfield. And that's something you learn as a defensive line is when you encounter a pulling guard, you want to try and take it on and force the running back to spill it, meaning run the hump around the block to give your defensive line and linebackers a longer opportunity to get upfield and make the play.
Hello out there to Laura cheering for Melvin Abanqua. Melvin, what a year he had, 632 yards on the ground for the second-year player. As we're at timeout here.
He's been a productive force so far on the ground today. Hasn't been too much of him in the return game, which he does make a large impact. Acadia's did a good job at keeping the ball away from him. They haven't really had to contain him simply because they just haven't given the opportunity to beat him by kicking it out of bounds, kicking it low.
All right, well, let's head down to Steve Betts, who I think is with a fan down there here in Acadia. Go ahead, Steve.
All right, guys. I'm here with a whole bunch of fans here from St. Mary's. Ladies, there's your camera right over there. You want to give them a little shout out? So now you guys are the Lady Huskies hockey team, correct?
Yep.
Absolutely. So who are you cheering for today?
St. Mary's.
Really? I never thought that at all. So you think they're going to pull this one out or what?
Obviously.
You think they're going to pull this one out?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, a whole bunch of fans, guys. Acadia, St. Mary's. Lots of action on the field. Back to you, Bill and Elliot.
All right, great stuff there from the Huskies women's hockey team. Thank you, Steve. And on the field, as you can see, huge yardage for Thomas Troop all the way to the 10-yard line. And then nearly a fumble, but he got it back. And we got a Husky on the field.
Thomas Troop did a tremendous job of getting upfield there, although it was Eric Black with the outstanding heads-up football play of trying to punch the ball out of a loose arm of the young Thomas Troop. We talked about him only being 18, and he does have a tremendous physical skill set. It is that mental skill set that he's going to have to continue to develop as a young player. When you get into that open field, you have to be extremely aware of where that ball is in space. He got his arm a little bit away from his body, which gave Eric Black the opportunity to try and knock that ball loose. Fortunately, a great hustle play by Acadia's receiving corps, running downfield, jumped on it, and maintained possession.
At the 10, Kyle Graves. Zach Clark, another fumble, and the Huskies try to get on this one, and again, but it'll go to the Huskies.
Yep.
Last to touch it out of bounds, and a critical fumble here, and looked like, was that Zach Clark?
That was Zach Clark, running back, came in. He's an outstanding pass protection player as well as a good receiver out of the backfield, though he has had some trouble holding on to the ball this year, and one of the reasons why Acadia's put Thomas Troop in that lead back role because of Zach Clark's inability to hold on to the ball. Got knocked loose as he tried to stretch it out for a touchdown there, but he may have been better off just going down and preserving the ball at the 1 yard line. But even bigger hats off has to go to, it looked like Neil King there for St. Mary's, of having the mental awareness to knock the ball out with his hand.
A huge play for the Huskies, denying Acadia with the fumble. And Legault will take over at the 20. Wow, no luck for a Abanqua. Wrapped up there by Big Morse.
That looked like Jesse St. James. They started off the season as a 3 technique inside on the defensive line for Acadia. Since moved to the outside because of how much of a dynamic athlete he is. And again, they're running the ball away from him there, but with his speed and athleticism was able to chase Abanqua down from the backside, or was it Dawes, to make that tackle for a loss. Now we'll get to see how Legault responds with this throw. It will be probably a throwing play into the wind.
5 minutes left. That is incomplete. Knocked away by Semalulu.
Going back to Kevin Withrich on that boundary receiver spot. Withrich had some success getting over top of Semalulu earlier in this game, but Sue on that occasion did a good job at maintaining leverage, had connection with the receiver, knew where he was in space, and then was able to play the ball in there. That's something I found that defensive backs at the CIS level have difficulty doing, is they lose contact with the receiver and then their head starts to spin and lose their sense of awareness in space. But Sue knew exactly where he was, where his receiver was, and was then therefore able to make a play on the ball.
So Lothar with his heels nearly on his goal line here. It is 1. We'll see what he decides to do. He's going to kick with the wind. And going to get it to about the 50 and mishandled. And jumping on it there. Maroon.
Oh. Maroon again mishandles the ball. The first one didn't have a chance to mishandle because he let it go over his head. On that occasion, we've seen something that he's done, seen something that's happened to him previous games as a young returner in this league, is just misjudged the wind here at Acadia and kind of let the fall slip through his hands.
Brett Lothar is on the field and being looked at by the trainers of the Huskies. It looked like he was holding
his right knee.
Yeah. And this is something I talked about with Coach Mark Hasey with. He loves to get in on the action after kicking the ball. I'm not sure maybe that's what happened there. Maybe it just took a block or what happened, but he likes to get in on the tackles. He wasn't near the play there.
No, he was kind of behind the play. Maybe he overextended his leg while he was running, but it could be something just as simple as his calf could have cramped up running down the field. But at this point in the game, with how crucial special teams is to the outcome of this game, for St. Mary's, it only being a 1-point game, Brett Lothar could be the difference between a win and a loss at this point, and it's absolutely critical that he's on the field for them.
He has been the Huskies' offense, 3 field goals so far.
He's been, in terms of also points and also changing field position. Every time Brett Lothar kicks the ball, there's an advantage of anywhere from 8 to 12 yards that he gets just by his ability to kick the ball and change the field position.
All right, well, Caroline Healy, of course, her brother Andrew, what a great story he was, or is, switching to wide receiver after being a backup quarterback, having an incredible year. Caroline Healy, a dynamic basketball player there in Fredericton. She's the daughter of Jill Jeffrey. Just a pure family of athletes there with Caroline and Alex, or Andrew. So thanks very much, Caroline. And John Fahey watching in Port Moody, BC. Watching Alex Graham as they continue to watch Brett Lothar, and hopefully he is okay. And we're going to see if Steve Betts.
Looks like they're trying to stretch out his calf, which would somewhat indicate a calf cramp. Although one of my I'm not going to try and speculate too much, because one of my pet peeves of watching broadcasts is having the announcers sort of try and guess as to what the injury could be or the issue on the field. But just going back to Andrew Healy, and his change from quarterback to receiver, what really brought that on was last year Acadia played Dalhousie in a scrimmage with Acadia's non-dressers, get a chance to sort of play an exhibition role and see what they're made of in a game situation. It was Andrew Healy returning kicks that really caught the eye of the Acadia coaching staff, and they thought in the offseason, hey, this is a guy we might be able to use as a receiver, more so for those fly sweep patterns. But then they realized the kid can catch a little bit too, and has really evolved into a starting receiver. So.
And my mistake, that's Dave Sabern on the field. So Dave Sabern on the field, and he's being helped off. That's still big news for the Huskies, but hopefully he's okay. Let's go down to Steve Betts on the sideline.
Hey guys, only fair. I saw some St. Mary's fans down there. We got a few Acadia fans right here in front of us. What's your name? What's your name, sir?
I'm Blake Perry from Shelburne.
Heidi Barron from Shelburne. I'm Jody from New Glasgow.
America from Sussex, New Brunswick.
I'm Alex from Port Perry, Ontario.
Wow, so Sussex, Ontario, Shelburne, all sorts. You guys are students here, obviously?
Yeah. Yes, I am.
And are you going to study it all today, or is this it? You're just coming out here to have some fun? You're going back to the dorm to study, aren't you?
Yes.
So there you have it, Mom and Dad, working very hard at having some fun here at the football game and going to be studying later, I assume. Awesome. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of red and blue out here. Back to you, Bill and Elliot.
All right, thanks, Steve. Back here with Kyle Graves scrambling, and he gets about 5 yards. So, and actually,
this time Kyle was able to avoid the rush of Nigel Romick there. But looked like Prince Buffo came in late and tried to, knowing there's some ball security issues going on, tried to knock the ball loose there.
So just to confirm that injury, again, I thought I saw Brett Lothar, but it was Dave Sabern, and we're watching him over there. He's trying to stretch it out, so hopefully Dave's going to be okay. He was big for the Huskies in the tail end of games.
Yeah,
getting some late carries.
And it looks like, I mean, he is playing, looks like that up back position on the punt team. And anytime, you bring a new player, and there's always the issue of potential chemistry issues coming into play, or people aren't too familiar with their roles.
Brett Henney straight ahead. Maybe a first down here for that big bruising fullback.
He is, and he's also, I mean, as you saw there, they lined him up as a tailback in that instance with 5 receivers out. And what it does, it really gives the Acadia offense a lot of flexible options. If you want to try and stop that Acadia aerial attack, you have to take people out of the box, which, as we know, is from tackle to tackle and 5 yards deep. You take an extra player out of there. Now with a guy like Brett Henney, who can pretty much break 1 or 2 tackles, you pretty much put in an advantageous position to run the ball. He's about 245 pounds and one of the most physically imposing people Acadia's ever had on campus here. If you give him the ball, he's guaranteed to fall forward for yards.
3:41 left in your third quarter. 10-9 for Acadia. It has been a dandy.
So if this is a trend that continues, it'll be interesting to see how the St. Mary's defense reacts to it, whether they're going to keep 7 people in the box, or whether they're going to take that and make it a 6-man box against Brett Henney. This is something that happened last time these two teams played, and Brett Henney had lots of yards down late in the game.
Another big third down play. This one maybe just about half a foot, and that'll be no problem for Kyle Graves.
Falls forward, easily gets 2 yards there. But
that's got to be frustrating for the defensive lineman, that 1 yard of separation in those situations.
Yep, it certainly is. I mean, but it can be a real game changer, because anytime you do stop them, it becomes a huge momentum swing, because you aren't expected to succeed in those situations. I remember in a game against Winnipeg when I played for Edmonton, we had 2 of those in one game, and I ended up winning the game because of it. They were just huge momentum swings for our team when we were able to stop them in third and short plays.
All right, well, Acadia is starting to build here. They got the ball at the Huskies 52, and it's Thomas Troop. Big yardage for Thomas. Give him about 17 yards to the 30.
Even though we got into the secondary, there was Nigel Romick again chasing him from behind. He's one of the people I'm actually most impressed here with so far for St. Mary's on their defense. Not only with his play, but it also is just physical stature. He's a tall, long-limbed kid who has potential to really grow into his body, I think. And based on his physical stature and how hard he's playing, could be a CFL candidate down the road.
Big second-year player from Thunder Bay, Ontario. There's Troop going right back to work. Give him about 4 yards as he ran into Matt Lalonde.
And that seems to be a consistent story. Talked to us from northern Ontario, a bit more rural Ontario. It's been my experience that those kids from the rural areas in Ontario are extremely hardworking kids, usually very strong as well. If you look at kids like Thomas Troop for Acadia and the Henneys, Brett Henney, and just big, hardworking, almost farm kids that just kind of plug along and give you your all.
Well, to the 2012 AUS Subway Loney Bowl right here on AUSTV.ca, powered by Bell Alliant and presented by Budweiser. Thank you so much for being with us. Thanks to our outstanding folks here at Acadia, Eric Cederberg and staff, getting us all set up and doing an outstanding job. Andy Bell coming into the game here now for the Huskies, and we have a Husky on the field. They're trying to identify him for you as he's being tended to. Remember, again, thanks for all your emails so far, auswebcast@gmail.com. Things have very much gone back to the defending champion Axemen in the stats. Of course, 7 first downs for the Huskies, none for Acadia after one quarter. Now 12-9 for Acadia in first downs.
And the yards, too. I mean, we had almost no yards of offense for Acadia there in the first quarter, with 80 yards of offense for St. Mary's, and now we're looking at only 40 yards gained since then, and Acadia's up to 242 on the game now. Kyle Graves really turned around, hadn't completed a pass, and now is 8 for 16 for 91. And Thomas Troop has turned it on. He's over the 100-yard mark after that 42-yard gain that he had last series.
That's Ryan Keating being helped off here by the Huskies trainer, so hopefully Ryan is okay. Jean Legault 1 for 8 with -5 yards passing, so that'll be a storyline post-game if that doesn't change around for the Huskies. Mike Dawes, 86 yards, and Thomas Troop, as you just said, 123 yards on the ground. Only in his first year, and I've heard people talk about his brother, Thomas Troop's brother. As Kyle Graves goes to work, 1st and 10 from his 30. In pursuit are Huskies, and that pass out of the reach of Henny.
Right, Thomas Troop's brother Bobby is he's a transfer from Wilfrid Laurier, and really, it was almost a package deal where if you wanted Thomas, you didn't have to, but you wanted to recruit Bobby as well, so they kind of came together. Bobby was originally at Wilfrid Laurier, like we said, and they have family members. I believe it's their father, their uncle, who played at Laurier and then eventually progressed to CFL as a running back, fullback. And for whatever reason, Bobby decided he wanted to leave, and the Troops decided to come to bring their talents to Acadia and have really fit in, from my understanding.
3rd and 7. Acadia really rolling the dice here, and they're going to try it with Troop. Pursued by Huskies. He won't get there. Gets to about the 25-yard line. So Acadia goes to forward on 3rd and long and turn the ball over on downs.
I don't know if they're trying to maybe throw them off by running the ball there on 3rd and long, but either way, it didn't work out. And again, we talked about earlier, the Acadia late in the second half went for the field goal at the last play of the half instead of kicking it, went for field goal instead of going for it. I mentioned that you don't want to take points off the board. That's a time right there where you don't want to take that point off. If anything, you even want to give Kyle Graves the option to punt it through the end zone and take that single point there.
So Huskies taking over at about the 28-yard line. Legault again, a little hitch and double coverage over there on the far side, and no luck with McGee. Samalulu was over there along with another Acadia defender.
Cam Wade helping over top. Looks like they're playing a little bit of a cut coverage. So playing the corner low and playing the halfback high over top. I think that's about the 5th target we can say for Wuthert so far, and 4 of those 5 have been deep balls, whether it's been the straight go ball or if it's been the pump and go, because they have run the out to the sticks at that over there as well. It's something they will come back to. I think they do need to come back the field towards Fitzgerald's way, because he is a player that has beaten Acadia in the past.
1:25 left in the 3rd quarter. There's a handoff for Abagwa, and he is met. Multiple Axemen in the backfield, and a 5-yard drop for the Huskies.
Again, Jesse St. James coming from that backside defensive end spot. We thought with St. Mary's loves to run zone runs, and we know that anytime you run zone, you leave that that backside defensive end unblocked, and the quarterback's job is to read it. And whether Jesse is doing a tremendous job at shuffling and then accelerating, or if Legault is just not reading it properly, they're going to either have to change their play call, or they're going to have to bring a receiver into the box to try and chip off Jesse St. James.
1:12 left in your 3rd quarter. Brett Lothar back to kick at his own 10-yard line with the wind here for Lothar. Gets it off. A high booming kick. Samalulu all the way back to his 27, gets an angle, avoids Neil King, back to the far sideline, and all the way up the 45-yard line, 18 yards for Samalulu.
Great punt by Brett Lothar there. Get the stats on a second. Looks like a 50-something yard punt. Good signs, though, from Samalulu. We've seen him in previous games against St. Mary's. Not totally confident where he wants to go with the ball once he catches it. Shows some hesitation, thinking that he's back at the junior level and can just run to the outside like he had been able to at a younger age. But now the CIS level has really learned that to get yards, you have to just catch the ball, make one move, and get upfield.
Lothar let that go at his 10, and it was caught at the 27 of Acadia. So
that's one that we call a highlight reel play that's going to be going to the CFL teams.
Henny got ahead of himself, and the usual sure-handed fullback drops it.
Had some room too. They brought him across the formation like he was going to kick out on the defensive end, run the play to Troop, but Kyle pulled the ball at the last second and dumped it off to his fullback open in the flats, who just wasn't able to corral it.
30 seconds left in the third quarter. We'll go down to Steve Betts here in between quarters, then come back and get you ready for what should be an incredible fourth quarter. It is a 1-point ball game here in the Loney Bowl. Second and 10 from the 45 for Kyle Graves. A man over the top, just out of the hands of Renault.
Graves knew he had him. There was a window there where he could make it. Like we talked about before, Taylor Renault did what he does best. He was able to get inside, get on top of him, then stack the cornerback. Neil King was right there over top. I believe it was him. But Kyle Graves just wasn't able to fit it in. We talked a little bit. I was trying to figure out there earlier in that play how is St. Mary's going to play that formation with Acadia with only running back in the backfield and 5 receivers. They had 6 people assigned there. With Brett Henney as the lone running back. I wouldn't be surprised to see on a future possession to see Acadia run the ball out of that formation, even though it is a traditional pass set.
There's our last play of the third quarter. The Huskies will take over at the 35-yard line going into the wind. Acadia will have it at their backs, leading 10-9 as we come down the stretch of the Subway Loney Bowl. Steve Betts, what do you got for us down there, my friend?
Well, guys, not a whole lot to report other than a back-and-forth battle here. One significant injury, surprise, surprise, another injury. Ryan Keating, the 6'6" D lineman for the St. Mary's Huskies, is having a little bit of trouble. Upper body injury, shall we say. It looked like they were checking his neck, his shoulder, and a little bit of his head, too, so he might have got a hit from the side or whatever the case might be. Losing Keating and losing Finnegan already is going to be a big blow to this St. Mary's run defense. So down here on the Acadia end, everything seems to be running smoothly. I think they're just wondering when the next big play is going to come for them. Back to you guys.
All right, thank you, Steve. Here we go. 10-9 for Acadia and St. Mary's now. And yeah, if you're the Huskies, you think, well, this is the side of the field we were on when we were moving the football. We didn't score a lot of points, but they did run the ball very well there in the first quarter.
And it is going to be something they're going to have to rely on going into the win. I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't try and open up the play selection a little bit more. Again, especially with a younger, inexperienced quarterback like Legault, you want to try and centralize a lot of your plays to the middle of the field, run some slants, some inside seams, some in-breaking routes, some digs to try and, shorter throws are going to be easier for a young quarterback to complete that will, again, build his confidence. Again, you want high percentage passes. They're going to yield, medium to big gains, and that's something I expect the St. Mary's to come out and try in the third quarter when they had the back at their wind. It's going to be a little bit more challenging, and if they get down any more points, it's going to almost force them to have to throw the ball.
The 2012 Subway AUS Loney Bowl right here on AUSTV.ca, powered by Bell Alliant, presented by Budweiser. Here we go. First and 10 for the Huskies from the 35. Legault hangs off to a Banquet. And no room much thereof, I should say, for Banquet. He does get about 2 yards.
A little zone counter play there, but good penetration by the front 4 of Acadia to try and tangle him up and make him slow his feet, allow the rest of the Acadia defense to come to the party to make a tackle for a 2-yard gain.
Hello there, Alex Troop. Cheering on Thomas, of course, there in Alston, Ontario. Thomas's father, Alex, played linebacker for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Now, of course, it's the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Right.
That's 2 words there,
Two
your
words.
troops. Saskatchewan has the 1 word. So no luck for the Huskies on that second down. So thanks very much to the troops. Man, that kid is going to be special. Hard to believe he's only in his first year. The AUS Rookie of the Year.
Again, a quick little stop route there by St. Mary's. Not the best designed play. You want a play that gets you a little bit closer to the sticks. Even if you are going to throw it short, you want maybe a bit more of a dynamic play like a slant that a player can catch on the run and advance it for a first down.
Oh, Maroon, again, it has been a circus for him returning these or fielding these kicks when he gets to the go.
It's been the same thing all year with him. Is anytime the ball's in the air with Ellie Maroon under it, it's going to be an exciting time.
Well, he got it under control and at the 49-yard line.
Looked like it could have been close to two things. Could have been close to a penalty for no yards. Also been, with how high it went and how it started to come back on them, could have been a situation where the ref could have blown it dead to try and preserve player safety.
Hello out there to Riley Brown's brother, Davis, watching near the rig, or on the rig near Fort St. John. So hello out there to you, Davis, watching on the rig there near Fort St. John. Great email. Thomas Troop right back to work on cue and give him 12 yards.
Makes a couple nifty moves, and most important, after you make a nifty move, you have to make sure you get vertical. You can't spend too much time dancing as a running back. You need to make sure you're always gaining positive yards. Did a good job of finishing it by putting his shoulder down on the safety who brought him down for approximately a 15-yard play.
From the 48. That's Healy in motion. Handoff again for Thomas Troop. They are working him. And no luck this time. Maybe a 1-yard loss. Hello to Carolyn Rector, sending a big shout out to the women's volleyball team watching in the end zone here. And that AUS women's volleyball team, the Acadia, got that big win last night.
They did.
Well.
Got taken to a fifth set, but were able to really show their confidence as a young team. They're able to kind of close it out as part of a four-sport win yesterday for Acadia Sports, Acadia Athletics.
Volleyball team under a new head coach this season. Graves deflected and intercepted. Eric Black's got it. And he still has it across the 50 to the Acadia 50. And who makes the tackle but Kyle Graves? And Graves, some extra shots after the tackle. One of the biggest plays of the game. Eric Black off the deflection with the interception. And the Huskies in business at the 37-yard line.
Great play by Eric Black to undercut that route and pick the ball off of a tip. One thing I learned from my experience is picks usually occur on two types of plays. One play is overthrows, the other one's tips. He did a great job at running to the ball, hustling, and settling under it for a pick. Let's see how St. Mary's reacts now.
So you can hear the Huskies fans starting to get their swagger on. Here are the Huskies on 1st and 10 from the 37. Abankwah slips and brought down by multiple Acadia defenders. Fletcher was in there, Laycock.
Good stout play there from the Acadia defensive line, which has steadily improved over the course of the game. Maybe gaining confidence knowing the fact that regardless of the situation, St. Mary's is going to run the ball. Be an interesting decision what Perry Marchese is going to be doing on this play. They are within Lawther's range here if they don't get the first down, but it will be a deep kick against the wind.
11:35 left. Legault fumbles the snap and just has to hop on it. And getting right in there is Jesse St. James.
Jesse St. James gets a gimme sack on the play, but we'll take it and be interested. Look, I'm guessing St. Mary's will march out the punt team in this situation.
And you know what? After the interception, that could turn out to be lots of time left. That could be the game-saving tackle that Kyle Graves made. Of all things that Kyle Graves might have done to win that game, if Eric Black returns that might have been it. He was one step away from a touchdown.
That's the fortunate part about having an athletic player like Kyle as your quarterback. But on top of that, he's an outstanding competitor, whereas some quarterbacks will try and just stay out of the way and not get hurt after interception. Kyle's mindset is to go attack and make the tackle.
Lawther into the wind, coming back towards the Huskies.
Smart play by Brian Jones. Brian Jones, although he's playing corner on that play, responsible for blocking St. Mary's gunner, saw the ball bouncing, knew there was a player within the five-yard halo, picked it up, and resulted in the flags being thrown against St. Mary's. Smart play by the first-year player out of Halifax.
So a huge opportunity for the Huskies is left begging. And now Acadia will take over at the 27-yard line. 10-9 leads the Axemen with 11 minutes left. Graves trying to get back to business after the interception. Making that huge tackle just when it looked like Eric Black was going to have a pick six. Thomas Troop give him about 3 yards.
Little counter play again. One of the plays you'll see consistently from the Acadia offense. St. Mary's did a good job of reading their surface area, as we call it. Reading the guards in front of you, saw the pullers, filled the gap, and are able to limit it to a 3 or 4 yard gain.
Call this 2nd and 7 for the Axemen.
Acadia did start to open it up as an offense with those passing plays. Let's see how the play calling has changed, if at any, after that interception last series.
High formation for Acadia. Here's Grace. 3-step drop to the far side. He's got Andrew Healy. Hello out there to Caroline and Fredericton. There's Andrew's first catch.
We saw it earlier with Mike Squires, but same route combination. With the amount of vertical routes with the amount of vertical balls that have been going Taylor Renaud's way, they have to respect his presence down the field. And what that's going to do is an open route to the sideline, like Andrew Healy ran there on the quick out pattern to the sideline.
At the 40-yard line. Healy's first touch is a big one. Give the Acadia first down. Thomas Troop, the lone setback, and with it. And maybe 5 yards for Troop.
Good penetration there by Andy Bell there, able to get upfield and stick an arm out, able to disrupt the direction of Thomas Troop, possibly limiting the gain to what it was. But Andy Bell, who came in for the injured Keating, is showing a little bit of disruption getting up the field right now.
So more solid yardage for Acadia on first down as Zach Clark enters the game. And this will be 2nd and 6. And Graves in the shotgun with Clark to his immediate right. Fakes the handoff to Clark. It's Hercules. Avoids a couple Huskies and has a first down before brought down by Neil King.
Again, talked about it before. Anytime you want to put some confidence back in your quarterback's mind, you want to throw some high percentage plays. They're going to yield moderate to high gains. We saw it first with that out pattern. Nice, easy completion for a quarterback in their 5th year. And again, nice little receiver screen to the field. Even more impressive, though, was Tristan Hercules' ability to get back underneath his blockers and get north and south to get that first down for Acadia.
The 53-yard line is Kyle Graves, Henny, and Clark in the backfield. Zach Clark trying to make up for that fumble. And he'll get right back to the line of scrimmage.
Nice little lead play, gets eaten up again. Andy Bell in the tackle again. Big kid, able to control quite a few offensive linemen, command the respect of those guys. Able to eat up a couple blocks, shed it, and then make a play on the ball.
Great email here. Ralph Taylor, the captain of the 1960 football Axemen, and Bill Taylor of the 83 hockey Axemen. Great to hear from you guys. Thank you very much for those kind words. Talking about their memories of Raymond Field. You talk about one of the special venues in the AUS, right here in Wolfville. 3rd and 10 for Graves. Too far. He had a man wide open and just misses Prochnow.
Prochnow running across the field with the amount of man coverage that St. Mary's plays. That's been a favorite route combination for the Axemen against them, where they put all the receivers to one side, let Taylor Renaud clear out the short side of the field, and because it's easier to get inside of your defender, Eli Prochnow runs across the field. Normally, in normal situations, that's Mike Squires, and this is a situation perhaps where the absence of Mike Squires limits the game by Acadia. That's normally a play that he makes consistently, and actually caught one earlier for a touchdown this year against St. Mary's.
Graves back to punt. And the battle between him and Lothar continued, especially with the wind. Just a beauty by the punter of the year, Kyle Graves. Man.
Tremendous kick by Kyle Graves.
Who'd ever thought watching punting would be so much fun? You get these two guys on the field.
Well, it's just like anything else. When you get two people that are as good as they are, you really get to see how impressive punting skills can be and how important they can be to a game like this.
Hello out there to Ruth Beck watching very much. Thank you very much, Ruth, watching in Brampton, Ontario, cheering for Acadia. Well, the Huskies in deep now in their 5-yard line. It is 10-9, 7.5 left in this one. Dawes in the backfield. It is the handoff for Big Mike. Put him at about the 6-yard line, a 1-yard carry for Dawes.
Could be game changing if St. Mary is able to pick up a first down here. If they aren't able to successfully, get the ball outside of the 15-yard line for a first down, I would anticipate that Perry Marchese takes a knee in the end zone, making it a 3-point game. But in doing so, it would help again transition to field goal or field position to give Acadia the ball back deep within their own end zone, as opposed to punting it out to center against the wind.
With Legault at the 1. 2nd and 9. A handoff here and wrapped up right away.
Jesse St. James, once again, adjustments haven't been made to try and block the backside defensive end, and on slow developing plays like that counter, you're really going to pay for it. Now there's no question in my mind that they will take the 2 points, concede the safety, make it a 3-point game, but in the process will give them field position to work with if they're able to stop Acadia on this next offensive series.
Well, no luck for the Huskies. And in his end zone stands Brett Lother. And he will take.
Notice how quickly he took those 2 points. He knows at this point, with 6 minutes left and change, time is a factor in the outcome of this game. Whereas if this were Kyle Graves conceding the safety, he would see him run around, try and eat up a lot of clock to limit how much time that St. Mary's had with the ball. Perry Marchese knows how important not only field position is, but time left on the clock is, and had his punter down the ball right away to concede the safety.
So Acadia gets it back, and right now Huskies fans have got to start to be thinking, are we going to lose another single-digit game in Wolfville this season?
It's not unfamiliar territory. I mean, over the course of almost the past decade, they have all been close games. Even in years where Acadia would finish year 1-7, those games they played against St. Mary's would be decided sometimes by a touchdown or less.
Henny in motion. There's Troop. Give Thomas about 7 or 8 yards. Met there by Kayshawn Wright.
Standard play for Acadia, just a simple power play. Same type of run blocking for Acadia as you would see with their counter. They're pulling a guard across the formation, giving it advantage in terms of size, coming across on those smaller linebackers. With the way Thomas Troop is running, he's able to get up underneath his blockers and get into the the second line of defense for St. Mary's to make it a manageable second down.
5:45 left in the game. Now we got a timeout on the field. Well, set your scoreboard for you. 12-9 here for Acadia. And we're going to head down here. Oh, we got that. There it is. The Jewett Trophy. That is what these teams are fighting for, and the right to go play in the UTEC Bowl this year against the winner of the Quebec Conference in Quebec. So that is a tough ride for the AUS. Great shot there, but we talked about that earlier. Who knows who waits? We'll find out here probably by supper time who Acadia will be going to play.
Yeah,
or Acadia or St. Mary, sorry.
The game has started out in Quebec. It started at a 1 p.m. local, which would be at 2 p.m. here, so the game's probably close to halftime. Hopefully we get an incoming score at some point, which will give us insight as to perhaps one of these two teams will be playing.
The trophies are on the field. Stick around after the game. We'll have all your post-game interviews with Steve Betts and highlights, or not highlights, but video footage of all the festivities on a wonderful day here in Wolfville. Acadia trying to run this one out. 5:35 left, up by 3 points. Henny and Troop in the backfield, and once again it's Troop. And once again he has big yards and a first down for Acadia to the 50. Renyak got in there on the tackle.
North and south, nothing complex about that type of play. That's what Jeff Combs would call, Acadia football. As good as their receivers have been the past few years, Acadia likes to pride themselves on being able to run the ball and run the ball physically.
Hercules, the receiver, on the near side. And once again, it is Troop. And once again, big yards. Give him 13 yards now for the youngster.
Again, power, another power play, pulling the guard, one of the offensive all-stars here for Acadia, Colin Murray, pulling them across the formation. Allow an extra big body, 300-pounder to get upfield, giving room for Thomas Troop. We talked about how sometimes these runs can almost snowball, where you may not gain a lot at first like Acadia was, but as the defense becomes a little bit more worn, the runs start to become longer and longer because you become more fatigued.
Well, if this game is the coming out party of Thomas Troop, what a festivity it has been. Man, oh man. 2 yards there for Henny, maybe at the most. 162 yards for Thomas Troop on 23 carries.
I think at this point right now, you're looking at Thomas Troop right now being maybe the favorite for, if Acadia is able to hang on the winner of perhaps the MVP. And then for the St. Mary's side, it's a bit of a toss-up. Michael Dawes has been the workhorse all game, although you've had that perhaps, again, game-changing interception by Eric Black, which really stopped the strong offensive drive by Acadia and kept them in the game. You could argue that if he wasn't able to intercept that pass, Acadia would have put more points on the board. He's also made a few plays on the ball earlier in the game, and Eric Black could be in consideration as well.
A special thank you to Pat Stigman for supplying
Kyle Graves, 10 for 23.
all football games this season.
Passing. Had the one big hook up there with Taylor Rennell for a 20-yard catch.
Has missed him on a few other ones.
20-yard touchdown catch, I should say.
RJ Cornish has been tremendous in his ability.
We have 4:26 left.
Brett Henny coming off the field slowly. A lot has to be something quite affecting him if he's not feeling too well. Do have a score coming in though with the Dunmore Cup, the Quebec Championship. Right now it's 23-10 Laval with 3 minutes to go in the second quarter.
Larry Adamson, thank you very much. And Kay Norse, thank you very much for those emails. Here we go, Acadia. And that is incomplete. Healy was over there on the far side as Huskies fans held their breath.
Fraser Verjak right there with them. I think even if that ball was on the money and there wasn't incidental contact, that would have been a closely contested ball there for the St. Mary's defensive back. Fraser Verjak, I believe, didn't play last year due to injury. Has come back and a few years ago was a tremendous and highly regarded player for the St. Mary's secondary, a product of a strong defensive back unit that is traditionally associated with St. Mary's football. Devin Murphy, before becoming the defensive coordinator, was the DB coach while Dan Laramie was here, and is known for producing strong defensive backs because of his attention to detail and focus on technique over anything.
Kyle Graves with that punt all the way down to about the 9-yard line. So once again, deep territory here for the Huskies. Hello to Catherine Sorensen watching. Jesse St. James' mother. Well, Eric O'Connor, hello out there to you, sir, watching in South Africa.
Starting to get into the thick of it now with, closing in on the 3-minute mark. Stoppage time will start to occur, but St. Mary's is going to have to make some plays out of the shadow of their own goalposts. And
again, Legault just comes up a little bit short of his receiver. That was Fitzgerald.
I'm impressed. That's kind of what I was looking for them to do with Fitzgerald. I said earlier, those quick inside releases, the quick slants, the quick vertical throws from a quick game, pass game, 30 game, 3-step drop are going to be the pass you're going to need to hit to try and advance the ball through the air. Fitzgerald's a big receiver, good hands. Just didn't look like Legault had his feet around, pointed towards his target. Looked like he kind of threw with an open body. Just a little bit of technique that needs to be corrected.
Legault, the handoff to Mike Dawes. Pushing the line is Big Mike. And it gets out to about the 15-yard line.
So this will be, with the punt team appearing to come on the field, it's going to be an interesting coaching decision for Coach Perry Marchese.
3 minutes left.
Because we've already conceded the safety to make it a 3-point game. With the way that Acadia's defense is playing, you'd have to think that St. Mary's can't bank on driving all the way for a touchdown. Maybe need to keep it within 3 points.
Dave Chafe in Newfoundland, outstanding basketball commentator and analyst and pundit out there in Newfoundland. Thank you very much, Dave, for that email. And Laval leading Sherbrooke 23-10.
Timeout.
Another timeout for St. Mary's.
Looks like the St. Mary's defense is congregating around the sideline, perhaps going over, what they're going to have to do should St. Mary's not advance the ball for a first down. Looks like the offense is staying on the field, and are pretty much going to leave it in the hands of their offense to try and advance it. But instead, they make liars of me, and the punt team comes onto the field.
Lothar standing at about his 2-yard line.
I think with how well Brett Lothar punts the ball, you really have to punt the ball and trust that your defense, who has been playing outstanding, can stop Acadia, limit points, and march down the field to at least tie, if not win the game. You cannot, with only 3 minutes left, I don't think you can concede the safety at this point.
Well, here's Lothar, and trying to draw Acadia offside. No luck, 2:58. And Lothar concedes.
Wow. So they elect.
We'll be talking about this tomorrow.
They will be talking about this tomorrow. They elect to make it a 5-point game. Now, a field goal is no good to St. Mary's, a team that hasn't been too close to scoring a touchdown today, has been in field goal range quite a few times, and you would think that they would trust their defense to try and hold Acadia's offense, who hasn't been playing particularly well either, to turn the ball back over to them and allow them to advance the ball for a potential game-time field goal.
John McDonald in Antigonish. Great to hear from you, John. Well, as the shadows overtake Raymond Field, 2:56 left, 1st and 10 for Kyle Graves with Healy in motion to his left. Thomas Troop. Troop about 5 yards.
Okay, no surprise there. Run the ball, gain positive yards, trying to let the clock wind down as far as it'll go.
Stick around again after the game here on the Subway AUS Loney Bowl on AUSTV.ca. We'll have all the festivities. We'll have Steve Betts with interviews and analysis with Elliot Richardson.
So work your way over to the Acadia side, Brian, I think, because that's where the happy guys are going to be.
There is a tackle in the backfield on Troop by Lalonde, and that's a big, big tackle.
It's going to be a game-defining tackle for the St. Mary's Huskies. It's going to give them an opportunity with just over 2 minutes left to be able to get in possession of the ball one more time, it looks like, and march downfield. And this time they will need a touchdown. Now, obviously, hindsight is 20/20. We can look back on that decision to concede the safety and maybe perhaps question the decision with how that drive just turned out with the 2-and-out. I know that they'd be punting into the wind, but if they're able to stop them in 2, Acadia would be punting from their own 55, and St. Mary's will only be needing 3 points now instead of the 55, or instead of the 5 they need now to try and win the game.
The wind is still, it's died down a little bit. It's still pretty vicious out there, though.
A little bit.
Yeah, blowing from left to right. And here comes Kyle Graves to punt. And he'll have the wind at his back. the Huskies set up for a block here.
I think you have to send the house on this one. Acadia hasn't given their return team much. They've been punting it out of bounds a lot, not allowing Melvin Banquo to get his hands on it. I think you can see the pressure should be coming from the top of the screen towards Brett Henney. In comes.
Here they come. Graves gets it off. Bouncing. Another, a little too bit to the left this time. Banquo, but he's got it under control and wrapped right up there by Axemen. Huskies will scrimmage at their 26.
2:16 left on the clock. We're going to see how extensive the St. Mary's playbook can be with Jean Legault in the game. We've seen some good passes by him, some good conceptual route combinations by St. Mary's offense. Now we're going to see if they're able to complete some of those. It's been about a 50-50 game between Suleiman Semalulu and Kevin Withrich, who will be at the top of your screen, receiver DE combination. Withrich has been open a few times on the vertical balls. Don't be surprised if they go back to him looking for a big play.
That is Jacobson handing off to a Banquo. No room for Melvin. Well, give him about 3 yards maybe.
So they've gone 5 receivers, 1 running back, Melvin Abanqua. A change at quarterback, Jacobson, who has a bit stronger of an arm, and can force the ball downfield as they go hurry up offense. So look down towards the bottom of your screen as likely candidates, as well as the third receiver in at the top.
2nd and 7. Jacobson surrounded and brought down. It is Fletcher.
Initially good protection by the St. Mary's offensive line. Just a good physical job by the defensive line of Acadia to collapse the pocket and not give Jacobson an opportunity to escape.
2 minutes left. Clock is rolling. Here you go. The Huskies. 3rd and call it a long 10. The rookie Jacobson with time. And he's going to win, but knocked away by Semalulu. That was Blackman in the area, but no luck.
Again, the misfortune of throwing into the wind. Blackman had a step on Suleiman Semalulu, but with how the ball hung up there in the wind, allowed Suleiman to come back to it and smartly knock the ball down without wrapping his arm around the offensive player.
Mark Starr, hello there to you. And Tim Archibald, thank you very much. Tim and Elliot watching in Fredericton. Watching the Axemen about to maybe put away their 2nd straight Subway AUS championship.
Big things now are going to be ball security and running out the clock.
Troop grinding ahead. Huskies trying to stop him. Acadia offensive lineman pushing him forward.
Interior of Acadia's offensive line getting push, helping out their running back get closer to a 1st down and locking away the game right now.
2nd down. And it looks like 2. Henny's going to come back in.
As the clock runs down. Minute 27 left on the game clock, 14 on the play clock.
That's Graves with Troop behind him and Henny to his left. 2nd and 2. Big defensive stop there for the Huskies. So they'll force a 3rd down.
A little bit of a misdirection play as Ryan Bajan makes his appearance for the 1st time on the field, or sorry, 2nd time on the field for a field goal.
Prince Baffel came in.
Great job penetrating. Acadia tried to run a little bit of a misdirection play. Prince Baffel was able to get inside of his blocker, get upfield, and deliver for a loss. A little surprising. Would have expected Acadia to have a quick hitter play. Get upfield right now, considering the success they've had with those earlier in the game.
Beijing to kick. Abanqua is in his end zone in case there's a miss. This is from 33. And it is true. 17-9. The Huskies need a touchdown and a 2-point conversion.
Ryan Bajan, who's been about 50-50 this year on his kicks, really came through and delivered what could be the game-winning field goal right now. St. Mary's is going to have the chance to move the ball offensively, but if they score, we'll need to hit a 2-point conversion to tie the game. Ryan Bajan, if we remember, missed a field goal early against St. Mary's, which returned 109 yards for a touchdown. And it's definitely probably in the back of the minds of some of the coaching staff for Acadia. That's a bit of a worry. If he missed it, Melvin Banquist can return the ball dangerously from anywhere.
Huskies with work to do. Jacobson at the 35. Rolls a little bit to his right, comes back to his left. Chase there, and brought down by Acadia defenders. Laycock was in chase.
Looked like King wrapped him up as well, who's going to take a knee.
So pause on the field here as they.
This is where you start to see, you know how much of an impact on a game someone like Jack Creighton can have, who's been out for most of the year with an injury. When he gets out of the pocket, it is tremendous at throwing the ball on the run, especially downfield. And there's a danger to hit a receiver from anywhere. Drew Jacobson, although he has a strong arm, hasn't sort of developed the technique and ability yet at this point in his young career to throw the ball on the run like that, like a Jack Creighton has been able to do here in the AUS.
Second and 10. Call it probably second and 11 actually for Jacobson. 3-step drop, and again wrapped up by Acadia defenders is St. James.
Jesse St. James collapsed in the pocket from his boundary defensive end spot. He's the one that makes the play, but a lot of respect has to go out to his interior defensive linemen who push the pocket backwards but also don't allow the quarterback to escape vertically. Force him to kind of try and escape to the left or the right, kind of falls into the hands of the defensive end.
Last chance for the Huskies. 3rd and about 17. And it was Simic, and it would have been first down yardage, but just off his fingertips. So a nice play call for the Huskies, but they just can't quite make it work.
Great play design. Ran the corner route perfectly to the sticks. Unfortunately, tips off of Semowich's hands and onto the ground as Acadia marches out their victory formation offense.
Victory formation for Acadia. 21 seconds left. They lead by 8. They are going on to the UTEC Bowl, and by all looks and occurrences, at least so far, thanks to our emails from Gerald Foote, Ian McIver, other people, Dave Chafe, who have sent us scores 30-10 right now. Laval leading Sherbrooke.
Another score is McMaster 23, Guelph 10. Of course, the winner of McMaster and Guelph will play the winner of the West.
20 seconds left. Acadia on the verge of back-to-back AUS championships.
Now 30-10 for Laval, I'm guessing in the third quarter.
Kyle Graves will round out his 5-year career with back-to-back AUS championships.
For a lot of these players, it will be their last game on Raymond Field.
Taking a knee, Kyle Graves, and once again, the Jewett will stay in Wolfville. Acadia is your Subway AUS men's football champions in 2012. Stand up and cheer, you Axemen fans. Celebration at Raymond Field. We're going to send it down here to Steve Betts in a few minutes with post-game interviews. We'll have all the highlights of what's going on here, all the your film presentation of all the awards ceremonies and what have you. Quick analysis here to get you started with Elliot Richardson. And the Huskies came out fierce on the ground, but just couldn't quite convert into touchdowns. Great field goal kicking by Brett Lother, but just a day where the Huskies just couldn't get that big score. And as we said, their closest they came maybe to a touchdown was Eric Black, one step away from a pick six, but Kyle Graves made the
game-saving tackle.
Tackle.
You normally associate your quarterback with someone that makes game-changing offensive plays, and at the end of the game here in Wolfville, it was the game-changing defensive play that he made to secure the tackle and perhaps secure the win for his Axemen. But like you said, we knew from the start that with the wind conditions and the way that St. Mary has been running the game, running the ball throughout this last quarter of the season, they would come out and run the ball. They would try to lean on the Acadia front seven physically. Initially had some tremendous success, but as Acadia and their coaches realized that they weren't going to throw the ball too much, they were able to key more people to the run, and were eventually able to limit the gains by Dawes and Abanqua, and force St. Mary's into some more throwing opportunities.
As we get ready to move on to the celebration for Acadia, we'll pay final tribute to a Huskies team that just persevered. A new coach, an 0-3 start, heartbreaking losses, but a Huskies team that never gave up until the final game today.
No, it's true. People have to remember that at one point in the year, St. Mary's was in dead last place in the AUS conference, something that has been probably unheard of, or at least very unfamiliar with for them and their alumni in their history. But you saw them kind of come together as a team. They obviously realized their identity as a team. That is a power run team and a good defensive team with solid special teams, and that's exactly what they showed today. They had some misfortune that they can't control early in the year from their quarterback position, but it is something that I believe will improve upon. I had an opportunity to play earlier in my career under Coach Perry Marchese in the Team Ontario program, and I know he is an outstanding coach. And being around Halifax, he will be able to recruit some solid talent like St. Mary's does every year. And similar to what we talked about the rest of the conference, their best years are ahead of them. I think next year will be a much tighter conference in general, with the likes of St. FX improving as well as Mount Allison starting to show how good they can be.
And on a day when getting to Acadia, on a day when we saw the end of the career of Kyle Graves, we saw the beginning of the next, maybe the next great thing in Acadia football, Thomas Troop. It was the day of the rookie for Thomas.
It is. I have definitely, if I've had some money to put down, I put my money down on him winning the MVP award for this game. The second half of the year, just like St. Mary's and their improvement, Thomas Troop has really come out of not nowhere, but out of obscurity into being a force to be reckoned with in the AUS for years to come. He's a true freshman, only 18 years old, and as he begins to physically mature and more importantly mentally mature, as we saw with how he got stripped there earlier and for not having the ball away, he will become, I think, the best running back in the AUS and probably a top running back in the CIS as well.
Acadia Axemen. You're looking at them on the field here at Raymond Field as both teams getting together one more time for the Huskies and Acadia before heading off, very likely it looks like, to Quebec City to play Laval. You've made that during your career at Acadia. You made that trip to Laval.
I've made it a few times. It's not the easiest place to play in the world. You go from crowds of 3,000 to 5,000 here in the Atlantic provinces, and there you're going to play in front of 17, 18, 19,000 people, however many they're able to cram into Pep's Field next week in Laval. On top of the atmosphere and the noise, makes it definitely a challenge, as well as playing against such a good team like the University of Laval football program. Not only are they able to recruit the top football players in Quebec, which is probably the best football province in Canada, they also have outstanding support staff, coaches, and they're almost like playing against a robot. They don't play too many complex offenses or defenses, but they play some simple things. They play them very, very, very well. You have to out-execute them. You can't afford yourself to make any mistakes.
You played on some championship teams at Acadia. We've seen 2 in the past 2 years. Where does this Acadia team rank in these championship teams under Jeff Cummins? Is this the best team he's had?
It's one of the best. I think they're all slightly different. You look at the difference between this year's team and last year's team. This year's team is their defense isn't quite as good as last year's defense was, but their running game has really come along together. And I think they have, although they haven't truly shown their ability as an offensive passing attack, they definitely have better pieces and more experience in terms of their passing game than they did on last year's team.
All right, we're ready to go here. Steve Betts has his first interview, and it's Thomas Troop. Go ahead, Steve. Oh, actually, no, wait.
Hey guys, yeah, Thomas Troop obviously getting pulled off, one of the stars of today's game. We're going to try and get back with him. And there's a couple other guys floating around here. We're definitely going to get something for you, Bill and Elliot. Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon. Back to you.
All right, so we got Steve had Thomas, but they need him up there for the award ceremony, and you see him with a round of applause. The presentation of the player of the game to Thomas Troop. 18 years old, that young man.
Bright years ahead of him. He's going to have a chance to physically mature in the Acadia Strength Conditioning Program, and will no doubt come back bigger, faster, stronger than he already is, although he is already an impressive, physically impressive player at this point in his young career. Will only get better with time. If Axemen is able to come back healthy, they're going to have the best 1-2 punch in the AUS, in my mind. Last year, Axemen was an all-star and unfortunately broke his leg this year in training camp. But by all accounts, seems like he's going to be back full force next year for a final season with the Axemen. But those two combined will keep each other fresh and keep opposing defenses wary of who's going to be barreling down on them.
You're looking at the 2012 AUS football champions, the Acadia Axemen. They did it with hard work and teamwork. Here comes the coach here in a few minutes coming up. There's the coach, Jeff Cummins. You know, it wasn't too long ago. There were people who thought maybe Jeff Cummins' time had come to an end at Acadia.
Well, I mean, we adjourned back what some people call the dark days of Acadia, from 2007 to maybe 2009. There perhaps were some question marks. He did win some championships early in his career. Some of those players were around from the previous coaches, and some of the players he hadn't maybe performed up to expectations. But with persistence and experience, he really turned around the program, and now has another set of back-to-back championships under his belt. And it really has established a good, solid young group of players, but more importantly, a good, solid group of coaches that can lead this team into the future as the next, maybe dominant program in the AUS. The tides do shift. We've seen. At one point, St. FX was kind of the cream of the crop. St. Mary's was the top of the league for close to a decade, and now we're trying to see maybe seeing that shift back to Acadia.
Needless to say, the coach, I don't think has to worry about job security anymore. He has 4 Jewett trophies.
And just prior to this year, had signed an extension with the university to keep him around for a few more years. Him along with with Darren Burns, the head hockey coach here at Acadia, who also has a strong athletic program across the CIS, being ranked number 3 right now. So between the two are the 2 leading coaches here at Acadia University.
All right, we're going to see if Steve Betts will have somebody else here for you in a second. There's Taylor Renault showing the trophy. He'll let these players celebrate. Kyle Graves down there. Hello, Kent Ridley. Thank you very much, Kent, in Tennessee. Tennessee, the home of the Volunteers, old Rocky Top. Thank you very much. Checking out AUS football today. Thank you, Kent. Stick with us. Interviews coming up. And we got one. It's Kyle Graves. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey guys, I'm here with Kyle Graves. Obviously, this means a lot to you. How you feeling right now?
You know, it hasn't quite set in yet. You know, I feel fantastic, especially for all the fifth-year guys. You know, all the hard work we've all put in over the years, and you know, even the young guys. It took a team effort to get us to this point, and it feels great.
Absolutely. Your team photo's coming out. You got one more big step. You don't want to miss it. How you feeling going into that?
You know, we just got to come out. We just got to prepare like we do every other week. You know, they're a good football team coming up this weekend, and we just got to prepare the way we always do and get our minds right and get ready to go.
Kyle Graves, don't miss your photo, my man. Go to it. Thank you very much. Back to you, Bill and Elliott.
All right, Kyle Graves going to get in there with his teammates. You're going to hear them applause as he gets back into that team photo. How's that for a shot? They're off to Laval. To represent the AUS in the UTEC Bowl.
Looking to see if hopefully the AUS can overcome the semifinal hump that they've faced. They've faced since St. Mary's last appeared in the big game against Manitoba back in, I want to say, 2007. So it's been about 5 years since an AUS team has made the big dance at the Vanier Cup. But whether, you know, past will predict the future. Last time that an AUS team represented the league in the Vanier was in Toronto, and we will again see the Vanier team playing in the Rogers Centre in Toronto this year. So perhaps history will follow the same steps, and we'll see another AUS team battle for the top goal in CIS football.
An Acadia team that, again, you know, they didn't disappoint. They were expected to be the number one team. They were the number one team all year long. They played Laval fairly tough there again in Quebec City for at least one half.
First half and about half of the third quarter, they played them extremely tight. Mm-hmm. Defense played out of their minds from all accounts. Held the Laval to a lot of 2-and-outs.
All right, let's go down to Steve Betts, who's with the coach, Jeff Cummins.
Listen, I'm not going to keep Coach here too long. He's trying to get it to his wife and family. Well-deserved. How you feeling, Coach? This is awesome.
Well, you know, I'm just happy to get the win. I mean, obviously it wasn't our best effort. I mean, we turned the ball over more in this game, I think, than we have all season. So obviously, you know, there are things that we need to fix. I don't know if it was a break or just lack of concentration or whatever, but whatever it is, I mean, we can't turn the ball over like that to be successful. Defensively, we played lights out. I mean, the kids, you know, a couple of drives early in the game, but after that, quite honestly, our defense was lights out and our special teams was fantastic. So, you know what, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Our offense will get better next week, I can promise you that.
Well, that was a longer answer than I thought I'd get out of him, Coach. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Go enjoy this with your family.
Thank you very much.
No problem. You have yourself a good day. Back to you and Bill and Elliott. Coach Cummings right there.
The coach, Jeff Cummins.
Second year in a row being named the AUS Coach of the Year. We'll see if that translates to being another CIS Coach of the Year. My bet is probably not, just with this season, again, was expected versus last year's. Coach won it partly due to his ability, but also the change in culture and the change in record that he was able to bring out in his young players last year. But he will have the experience of having played against Laval now several times, and if him and his coaching staff can put together a solid game plan, there's a good opportunity for Acadia to win in Laval next week in the UTEC Bowl.
Hang with us. We're going to see if we can get Thomas Troop. Steve Betts says, okay. It is cold here at the, I tell you what, there's a great shot. Jeff Cummins with a hug of his wife. And the emotion. I tell you what, for being a football coach, I don't know if some people think they just show up for 8 weeks of the year. Being a football coach is just an unbelievable amount of work these men do.
They certainly do. I mean, even in the off season, we'll call it, the time they're not playing and coaching football, they're still in regular office hours, 8 to 9 hours a day, just like people with jobs out in the community. But once on top of that, they're traveling all over the country and trying to recruit the best players they can. They're at conferences trying to become better coaches, better people. I know for a stretch there in May and June, Coach, out of the 2 months, Coach Cummins was only home, I think, for about 15 out of about 60 days because he's out on the road doing different events and trying to become better. Then once they get in season, they're essentially 12, 14-hour days every single week. From Sunday all the way till Thursday. A little bit of a light day on Friday, but Saturday's an all-day affair, and tomorrow they'll be in a solid 14 hours as well, trying to get ready for their next opponent.
Well, what a job this production crew has done here today in absolutely bitter Wolfville. It looked sunny on the field, but up here in the press box, it was not. It was cold. And these guys hung in there and just put on an incredible show. Thank you so much for your emails and telling us so. Everything so positive. And glad you guys enjoyed out there the production and that this group here at Bella Alliant does. Chuck Calder and his crew and Brian Fisher and his group coming up from Moncton. All the help from our friends here at Acadia, led by Eric Cederberg. Thanks to the athletic directors. David Murphy. Kevin Dickey. Yeah, I think we're going to let Steve Betts off the hook here. Yeah, Steve, you're off the hook. Yeah, we got the game-winning quarterback and the coach. That's about as good as we get. We couldn't get the hot shot rookie running back, but
I think we'll get an opportunity in future years to get Thomas
Yeah.
Troop. I don't think he's going to be a flash in the pan, 15 minutes of fame type guy. He will be back in the spotlight, whether it's next year or sometime in the next 4 years of his career. But expect him to have a repeat performance at some point.
Elliot Richardson, outstanding job today, young man. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Friends, you've been watching the 2012 AUS Subway Loney Bowl right here on AUSTV.ca, powered by Bella Alliant and presented by Budweiser, the home of the AUS Championships. Stay with us all year long for coverage of the AUS Championships. Thank you again for the emails. Hope you've enjoyed the broadcast, and thanks to everybody who helped out today. We'll see you next time here on AUSTV.ca. The Acadia Axemen are Loney Bowl champions. We'll see you next time, and have yourselves a great day.